Oh yeah, they give the feminists give the left wing a horrible name. Well, third wave does.
That was such an awesome time to start it because now Jerry sounds like a douche talking about. Luckily, there's no viewers right now, so nobody heard it.
Yeah, sweet. Cut that one close. Almost expose my secret, almost expose my link straight to the patriarchy, that thing we have every Sunday night. Shit!
That would have been pretty awesome. I said.
Oh yeah, they give the feminists give the left wing a horrible name. Well, third wave does.
That was such an awesome time to start it because now Jerry sounds like a douche talking about.
Oh.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of feedback, but.
Yeah, I did not mute my YouTube. I should probably tell people we actually started. Not that we ever get many viewers, but that's okay. I'm hoping that Ralph will bring some extra viewers in with us.
Let's make sure we got something relevant to say, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, we've got plenty to talk about.
Oh yeah, I've got a barrel full. No, but I was quite surprised at where that graph actually put me in my growth politically. I have deviated so far from centre now towards the left sphere. I found that was and I found it was quite funny to see people all around me in Gamergate now in the left as well.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them.
Oh yeah, left has always been very kind of nebulous.
I mean, the feminists don't hold, and I mean, I say feminists, I mean extreme feminists, really, because, there's some things I don't disagree with everything they say, but they don't hold majority position even on the left. They're really good at enforcing their views on the rest of the party, even with a minority position, because they stick together.
See, that's quite funny because I always just, assumed that was their domain, and now see myself creeping, my thoughts, changing, evolving with how many years, being on this planet, and I've now entered. I feel like I was like, hang on, aren't these people supposed to be? But they're looking like right-wing assholes right now. They've gone full circle, basically.
You know what's funny is, am I the only one here who falls on the right? I'm not too far on the right, but I sit where about Archon sits.
I'm just shy of center on the left. I'm not too far into the right.
Yeah, I sit about where Archon sits. I consider myself fiscally conservative and socially liberal. Right? And I say socially liberal, but I'm actually pretty staunchly against social programs. So, but I also don't really care what people do in their own house. You know what I mean? And I'm just all about what people do. People. I don't really fucking care. So, anyways, I guess maybe we should talk about some stuff. And I know the first thing I want to talk about. Actually, fucking, did I not save the link? So, are you guys familiar with the whole getting college credits for editing Wikipedia? I know you are, Cerberus. Editing Wikipedia and you get college credits for editing in feminist thinking.
Now,
are you guys familiar with that?
Now, I've never heard about it specifically for that. I know I think it was my English 102, we had an assignment that showed us how to edit Wikipedia, and we had to edit an article. But just as an assignment, it wasn't like the full class.
There's like a whole, they call it storming Wikipedia. Colleges offer credit to students who enter feminist thinking into Wikipedia. Like, what the fuck is this? Right? Like, does that defeat the whole purpose of Wikipedia?
Well, I heard about this last year, but when I was in uni, basically, Wikipedia was still frowned upon as, just a cesspit of shite. So it didn't really have any impact on our sort of classes.
But what struck me is the colleges that are like offering this credit. It's not like no-name colleges.
Who were the colleges then in the article?
Yale University, Brown University, Penn State.
Basically the Ivy League in the United States.
Yeah, Yale, Brown, and Penn State. Those aren't like.
Oh, Penn State's not, but Yale is.
But Penn State's not a bad college either. You know what I mean? They're not like shit colleges. You know what I mean? They're actually like legit colleges.
Yeah, Yale and Brown are like the two biggest unis in the United States.
Does that speak to? Well, I'm sure that speaks to GamerGate's Wikipedia controversy. Yeah. I mean, you got people who are getting college credit for throwing in feminist theory. And it goes beyond that. If you read that article I linked within the Hangout chat, it says a goal of the course is to advocate feminist principles of social justice and creating educational models. Why?
Oh, Jesus.
Why? Other participating colleges include Bowling Green State University, California Polytechnic, Colby Sawyer, I don't know what that is, the City University of New York State, the New School, Ohio State University, Ontario College, Rutgers.
Jesus Christ.
Any thoughts on this, guys? Or is this a...
Well, I'm just going to see where this has gone since August 30th, 2013, see if it's still a relevant sort of thing, because I swear I saw it more recently than this date. Anyway,
I have to. While you dig that, the other one I want to talk about is social justice degrees. Believe it or not, you can get a degree in social justice. And one of the big colleges that actually offer this is UMass. They add a social justice. They have a social justice education course where you can actually get a master's or a doctorate degree in social justice. What's interesting is if you read over their curriculum, it talks about theories and research on socialization that inform the development of social identity and social group affiliations within families, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing too bad there. The formation, maintenance, and interaction among in-groups and out-groups, whatever. Forms of resistance and process of empowerment and liberation created by individuals, families, and communities. And all, like, some of this doesn't sound too bad, right? Like, I get it. But one of these points from the curriculum really jumps out at me. Prejudice and discrimination, the dynamics of power and privilege, and interlocking systems of oppression. Does that not sound like there's a part of this curriculum is checking for privilege?
Well, if it's taught historically, it doesn't sound too bad.
But it's not. It's all.
Yeah, that's the problem.
It's all about like society and culture as it exists today, right? And they go into, they do talk a little about like historical context, right? Socio-cultural and historical context for the civil rights movement and other social liberation movements that found inspiration in it. Blah, blah, blah. But most of it seems to be about society and culture as it exists today.
So what field do you go in with a social justice degree?
What was that?
What field do you go in? Like, what is this?
It's probably sociology.
Yeah, that's what I figured, like social work? Or
Well, there's
something?
each college seems to have a different department for it. UMass is College of Education. That doesn't make sense, right?
Well, it's like, I'm not going to name names, but it's like when we were looking and found that document on social justice and social justice mathematics.
Yes. Yes, there is actually a social justice in mathematics, believe it or not. But this one at Eastern...
we are not even joking. We have laid eyes on the PDF of that document.
Well, this is the last. Just before going into that insanity, this is the last time that Wikipedia editing by feminists was talked about, which was in February of this year, basically. So.
Interesting. I'm going to check that. I'm going to actually read this in a second. But yes, there is a document about social justice and math. I didn't know numbers could be oppressive, but apparently they can be. Those fucking 52s, man. They step out of the binary.
That reminds me of that Simpsons episode where they divided the school up and they had like the boys' side and the girls' side, and they had the girls go in the math class, and it's like, how do numbers make you feel? What is a plus sign?
I've never been oppressed by numbers, apart from that I suck at maths. So is that oppression? Was I oppressed?
Of course,
Yeah,
by social justice logic today, yes, absolutely.
How did they make you feel?
I'm gonna sue. It made me feel sad. It, you know, I can't, my feelings.
Your feelings. That's all that's important in today's age, man.
There is no
Yeah.
reels, only feels.
Pretty good.
So back to the social justice education. This sent my mind for a little brain fuck. Maybe you guys too. Let's see. So, though housed in the School of Justice Studies in the University College of Justice and Safety, the social justice studies degree differs. Hold on, that's actually the wrong one. Where was it? I wanted to read this. This is I'll find it, but this is actually within the criminal justice school. It's actually a criminal justice and criminology degree at Eastern Kentucky State University. How the fuck is social justice a criminal justice degree?
That is a good question.
Right?
Unless
There's nothing in the
unless
curriculum that even says anything about, like, criminology. You know what I mean? They talk about going into community organizing, conflict resolution, domestic nonprofit and social services, environmental advocacy, human relations, political campaigns, and public policy analysis. None of that screams criminology to me.
no, public policy analysis is straight out of the political science handbook because I had to take that class.
Yeah, I did too. Something similar.
God, that
Jesus.
class.
Did they just?
Public policy analysis. I mean, yeah, there's nothing. That's really not controversial.
So
Nice,
how
but
is
it just sounds
criminology?
boring.
I mean,
Oh, it
yeah,
is.
man,
It
yeah.
really is.
Mhm.
Well, like, I don't get how it's a criminology degree, right? Like, when I saw that, you want to know what I thought? You've got to make a living out of being a professional victim, right? Like, that's the first thing I thought. That's where your money's going to come from, being a professional victim, and you're going to sue people over it, right? Like, why else
What? So
would
you're
you
gonna
do criminology?
you're gonna be an ambulance chaser with a degree, basically.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
It does seem lucrative path.
Yeah, I don't even know where you would make your money, to be completely honest with you. I have absolutely no idea where you would make your money.
Kickstarter.
Yeah, Patreon.
Hey,
I
Patreon.
really
What
want
about
to
social-
see. I really want to see if I can get paid for doing
That's
nothing.
where your money's going to
Because-
come from, being a professional victim, and you're going to sue people over it, right? Like, me. Hold on. I refreshed the page.
Yeah.
Talking about tenure more favorable to those who don't have scientific backings to their research. I'm reading what Synth wrote in chat. That's actually a point, not that we have many viewers, but that's a point I've been making all along. Digger is important because Digger offers a fucking fast track to tenure, right? When you have tenure, you can't be fired. You know what I mean? Like, once you have that tenure, you're pretty much there forever. That's scary when you look at somebody like Mia Consavlo, who's going to have tenure, right? It probably already does.
Oh yeah, she probably already does.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Continue to push this bullshit ideology. And there's nothing the university can do about it.
Yeah, you hang there for 10 years, you keep yourself low on the radar, and then you just do what you want.
Yeah, you just keep on rubber stamping shit for ages, and then because I mean she's dramatically changed in the amount of time. I mean the shit she's pushing now
And also,
is
the fact
completely
that,
different.
that social justice is a doctorate program, that scares the hell out of me. Social justice education specifically, that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, what do you, I mean, exactly.
I don't think we even have an equivalent of that.
Are you sure?
Well, I think it would just get laughed out at the moment. I mean, people are going to university to try and obviously get a career that can, you know, in this climate, because we're a service-based economy, you know, it's pretty hard to get jobs out there, and people are not going to university laying down that amount of money for a load of bullshit, basically, that will not lead to a job.
I mean, I hate to be a dick, but, like, are you sure? I mean, some of these people come, they're fucking hedge fund babies.
They could be, but I mean, it doesn't. Well, I don't know unless it's creeping into other subjects as forms of. I don't know. I mean, when I was there, I mean, I've just been at university recently, and I was just looking at, course prospectuses and stuff like that. I saw nothing this fucking bonkers. So I don't know which universities are offering this in the States, but
The link I just posted was University of Massachusetts, which is I think at least a fairly respected university because it's old. It's been there a long while. I haven't seen anything at places around where I live, like University of North Carolina or anything.
And how much are they charging for this?
UMass is definitely a very well respected college.
Let me actually look up the tuition for UMass.
It's pretty expensive.
Yeah, in-state it's $13,000 a year. Out of state it's $27,000 a year, and that's just tuition. That's not room and board included.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's not a cheap college. It's very well respected. It's not Ivy League, but it's up there. You know what I mean? And they're offering a doctorate.
This isn't a city college,
No. No.
This is the real deal kind of thing. Dearie me.
I mean,
go ahead.
The sad thing that we saw when we started kind of looking into like the social justice, like even the mathematics degree, was the fact that this was not geared to teach mathematics. This was geared to teach mathematics to primary and secondary school age kids. Like it wasn't just hey, this is how math is oppressing you. No, this is how to teach kids to be social justice warriors in mathematics. And I'm like, how the hell do you even do that?
Well, and that's what I wanted to touch on with this UMass stuff. This is part of their education. This is part of their school of education. And the whole social justice degree here seems to focus around teaching kids how to be oppressed, right? Essentially.
Right. So are they going to try and dumb down the high school curriculum, to this level, till you got just basically a nation of people that just want to sue the shit out of each other for feelings?
Well, I mean, we've already got that far. There's not much lower we can go.
I know you're not in America, but we're not far off from that.
Yeah, we're a very lawsuit happy society.
Oh no, I see the jokes, in cartoons, comics, but I just wondered, is that the reality? Obviously, it seems to be.
Summers, Christina-based mom, talked about this in one of her videos about the whole. And maybe it wasn't one of her videos. Maybe I saw it on her with Jon Stewart. Talked about the whole self-conscious society and the whole political correctness, and everybody gets a trophy. Our society's already there, right? Like, this is only going to make it worse because we are already there. Like, you seriously get a participation trophy if you finish last within the amateur athletic union, which is like the big junior Olympics in this country, right? Like, it's the Olympics for juniors. You now get a trophy for being last. At least you do in gymnastics. Think about that.
You see, this kind of shit happens, after. I mean, when New Labour came into power over here, Tony Blair, and pretty much everybody was told that they were kind of like important. They should go to university. They should do. Everybody should have the opportunity. And then the fucking economic meltdown happened, and basically we got real, and the job market shrunk. So many people out of work with bullshit degrees. I think I'm just surprised America hasn't learned that lesson from something that happened so recently.
America doesn't learn lessons very well.
No arguing there.
I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, right? Like, we just don't. We do our own thing and we fuck up along the way, and that's just kind of how we roll as Americans. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can understand it, but this is to your detriment, guys. And this is, if these people get into these courses, with the scholarships that you guys offer, what a waste of money,
It's not only that, right? Like, we have big social programs, right? And not even like social programs. Right? I have a couple of friends. Well, they're not really friends. They're way younger than I am. But a couple of neighbors who are 16 and 17 who are adopted, right? But they get 100% of their tuition, including like room and board and an allowance to live and all that, paid for by the government. If they were going to go to a like UMass to get a social justice doctorate, I think I would have a problem with that because that's my tax money. You know what I mean? Like, you're really not going to do anything to help society. And maybe that's wrong because there are places you need help, right? Misogyny does exist in some places, as does racism. It doesn't only exist and it'll never go anywhere.
Yeah, but all these things exist. It's just to the degree they're saying God.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just going to say. To degrees, to actually manufacturing something.
And that's kind of where we're at now. They're manufacturing it. They're making it about misogyny. You know, they're making it about misogyny.
Yeah, my damn misogyny.
I mean, it's like, can you really name in the past like 10 years? Can you genuinely name a really sexist game?
Leisure Suit Larry.
But once again, how many people bought that game?
I did because I'm a douche like that, and it was fun, right? But I didn't do it because I'm a sexist pig. I did it because it was something to laugh at.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. That was why I was given Polygon so much shit about their review of Tropico 5.
Of all the games, of all the, I've heard about this. I just didn't want to read the Polygon thing because it just would have made me violently sick, and I've only just gotten over the flu. So, but can you give me the gist of like the review?
This is a human rights violation and oppression simulator. 6 out of 10. I am not kidding. That is the gist of the review.
That's what it said, basically.
and if you actually play it, it's all very kind of tongue-in-cheek and all that stuff. Everything's very campy. Like I was looking through, there's a bunch of like Firefly and there's a Metal Gear Solid reference in there and stuff like that. And it's just all kind of campy fun, but they just decided, nah, fuck this game.
You know what bugs me about that, though, is they're not even, like, consistent, right? I've been playing Hyperdimension Neptunia on the PS Vita, and it is all fan service. It is all anime chicks with giant boobs that literally bounce up and down slowly when you're in a cutscene. And, like, girls with, like, skimpy skirts and they bend over, right? Like, it's just all anime fan service. And they're not bashing it, right? Shouldn't you at least be consistent in your bashing rather than just pick out AAA titles?
They always approach Japan, unless it's caused a murder in Japan, they don't really jump on it too much because they just go back and go, oh, lol, Japan,
Yeah.
Look. and that's kind of like racist in itself, basically. And that's what Ollie Barder was talking about the other day, because he did a sort of like Q&A thing, and he was just like saying the relationship between the industries is kind of falling apart and might come to sort of like a head at some point, just because of the representation of Japanese, culture in Western media. So, interesting.
I mean, it was like when they had that, I can't remember where it was, but I know it was at least a week or two ago, where they had the display for the game in Japan, and it was literally you opened up the girl's bikini, I think, and stuck your head in there to play.
Oh, yeah. The game, it's a sequel, isn't it? A direct sequel to something.
I think so. And everybody was just like, lol, Japan.
Why, though? Like,
I mean,
bugs me.
Dante's Inferno drew more ire than that display did. Because, God, I didn't like that game. But,
Terrible game.
Terrible game.
But, those stands were kind of just, there was sexy women, and don't get me wrong, but it was also completely out of place. Thanks, EA. But, I mean, Jesus Christ. That didn't draw anything. It drew a notice, but it was like, yeah, whatever, and then they just moved on. I think it's because they know Japan doesn't give a shit about them. I
think Japan does it just intentionally, just to be flammatory, basically, just to be like, yeah, so what?
Fuck you guys, right? Like, we're gonna do what we're gonna do.
Yep.
So I was gonna bring something else up. I'm gonna switch topics before, real quick. And I know nobody wants to talk about this, but I do want to talk about it, and I want to say one thing about it. The whole literally who shit.
Oh.
What I want to say is until we have proof that she claimed to stab somebody and kill them, we should probably leave it alone.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's what I was saying myself.
a pretty big accusation to fill.
I'd like people to read it though, and like come to their own
Yeah.
conclusion about it. Especially since you know all the sad faced fucking interviews that she did in the wake of Gamergate. You know, just like I hope this ends soon so I can get back to a normal life. I've been living a transient existence. Well, you know, I'm sick of I hope by the end of this, people just realise what she is and what they've done. So I think people should read that Facebook post. Take it with a pinch of salt, but, you know, in light of everything that's happened.
I would agree. Take it with a pinch of salt, but at least read it, and wait until we get proof of the accusation that was made. But it's a pretty hefty accusation if it's true.
Has anybody? I mean, does anybody actually follow her? Has she actually responded to that allegation? Or is she just?
Let me check right quick.
I don't follow her.
No, neither do I. She infuriates me just with her existence.
To hold myself back from replying to her, so I don't follow. I have very little self-control.
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing with me. That's why like I don't follow her. I don't follow Lee Alexander. I don't follow pretty much anybody that's just plain old inflammatory. Like I used to follow Devin Faraci or Farsi, however you say his name, and then I was like, yeah, no, done. You're just an idiot.
He is the worst. I know. Well, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot that could vie for that title in that camp, but he really just needs to shut the fuck up.
Let me actually see if I can find that Facebook post. I did not.
I've got the Facebook post. I saved it just in case we did want to. Let me just.
He posted in the Hangout chat. There was a couple pieces I want to call out in that.
Before we do that, I've checked her Twitter feed. Nothing on it.
So she hasn't responded to it at all. Huh?
Nope.
Well, in the last 48 hours.
That's very interesting. And the picture's definitely her, right? Like there's no question about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder who's looking at porn, but with her in it. But that's mean.
Well, is it really mean? Because this was obviously like she paid somebody or she's receiving money for these photos because they're watermarked. They're done by a professional photographer.
That's true. I don't know. It just, I mean, maybe at that. I mean, I've seen her porn pictures. She didn't have a terrible body, right, at the time. I wouldn't pay to look at it, right? I'm a married man. I can, and my wife breastfeeds my 4-month-old son, so if I want to see boobs, pretty much every hour on the hour, I can see some boobs. You know what I mean? I don't really need to worry about that. One thing that did jump out at me, and this puts me in the camp of Ralph as it's bullshit. She relayed to me no less than 3 other accounts of alleged violent assault. This is come out the way I don't mean it to come out, but what are you doing to be violently assaulted no less than 3 times? And I'm not going like you're wearing a short skirt, you deserved it, right? I'm not trying to say that.
God, no.
What are you doing if you can allege being violently assaulted no less than 3 times? And one time you allegedly stabbed a man and killed him.
I mean,
it sounds like something, I don't know. I don't want to say, but
I think you do want to. I think we all know, and we all do want to say it's just.
Can I say
Just
it's
the-
bullshit? And I'll speak for myself. I think it's bullshit. I don't think she was allegedly assaulted no less than 3 times. I'll say it. And if that's victim blaming, can you really blame a victim if you don't believe there's a victim? You know what I mean?
No, not really.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if I believed it.
I wondered if she was up to something slightly more nefarious at the time. That was the thing that I was kind of leaning towards. Maybe she was doing some other work on the side as well.
Now that could be, right?
Yeah.
Which would probably mean she maybe was violently assaulted, right?
Yeah, which could corroborate that kind of thing. But again, this could be libel, or slander. I don't know what the fuck the term would be, but defamation of character. So I don't think anybody's wanting to go there. All I literally want people to do is see the article, think, maybe she actually is just a shit merchant, and
Have you played Depression Quest? She is a shit merchant.
Oh yeah, she peddles HTML as pro code, seriously.
Well, yeah, and she didn't even do. I mean, she had a huge team doing that. So, and the other thing that struck me about this article, and I won't ask maybe specifics, but is where she said the writer said Zoe Quinn told people she forced her to look at mutilated vagina pictures, and the writer says there is some truth to that. We looked at mutilated vagina pictures, and that just makes it easier for me to trust her, right? She says, yeah, she was saying this shit about me, and she was partly right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
She didn't say she forced her to look at them, but they did look at them. And that just, to me, gives more credence to the story. Because she didn't just say, nope, she's lying, she's a liar, and she was out to slander her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can't think of any modus operandi that someone would post that shit without it being actually true, but there's very little way of verifying it because of just, life.
It's Facebook, I mean.
It is. It's Facebook. It happened so long ago, and Zoe Quinn's moved on to fucking other things,
Quite literally.
Yeah, quite literally and metaphorically. So yeah, but I do want people to read it. I want it to be out there like a lot of things in Gamergate. I just want people to be informed.
Unfortunately, the people we want to listen to us probably aren't.
No, they got their heads up their own asses.
We did get one, though. We at least got intel.
Yeah, which was, you know what? Their response was mutilated vagina pictures. Yes. I'll give you the Facebook link. I'll put it in the chat so you can see and read the story yourself. Zoe Quinn had told people that worked with this photographer that she forced her to look at mutilated vagina pictures.
See, Intel was interesting because they lost their shit basically. They went on full attack mode the day after that basically.
Oh yeah. I think Internet Aristocrat put it best in his stream yesterday, and he said, Intel's like, yeah, we're not taking a side, but that letter was basically, we're doing this, deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why their response was fucking awesome, because it was very much, we're not siding with the people you're calling sexist, but we are siding with gamers, and get over it. You know what I mean? Even though it was typical PR speak, right? We're not siding with anybody, but we are. And deal with it.
Thanks, corporate PR firm.
Well, yeah, they had to put something out there because there had been a lot of articles written about it. So.
Oh yeah, oh God, I got shit hammered by someone yesterday for saying, don't forget to support Intel.
Yeah, they had to put something.
What's funny? This is funny because we kept saying we were gonna boycott Intel, and they kept saying, "Well, put down your iPhone, hipsters." And now they're boycotting Intel. And I'm just sitting here going, well, put down your iPhone, hipster.
Put down your iPhone, put down your MacBook, get rid of the Mac tablet you used or get rid of the Mac computer you used to create.
Yep, put it all down. And they won't.
Because you cannot buy a Mac that has non-Intel parts.
Not anymore. You can't.
Unless you do something stupid like build your own and then put OS X on your tower, which why would you do that?
But they're hypocrites. They're never going to do anything like that. They're never going to stop trying to be fashionable. These people, it's all about image, and they're dealing with people that that have dealt with so much shit heaped on them that their image is already at minus fucking 10. So what have we got to lose?
They're trying to contact Intel. They did contact Intel. I'm responding to the chat. And Intel basically told them, deal with it. We're not bringing our ads back. It was a much more PR way of saying it. They said, we're not sexist. We don't believe in discriminating against anybody, women included, right? But this was basically the best course of action for us to take.
It's like we know that gamers are going to be willing to drop $800 on a graphics card versus your average person who's going to just buy a computer with the parts already in it.
Yes.
We're going to get a kickback. We're going to get a much better kickback from you buying a graphics card or directly buying a processor from us than someone who's just buying a regular off-the-shelf computer.
Exactly, and they made the right choice. I mean, Eric Kane even said so in the Forbes article, right? The article title said why they were right and why they were wrong. He explained why Intel was right. He never explained why he thought why Intel was wrong. He explained why he disagreed with Intel's decision, but he never said why they were wrong. I don't know if you guys read that Forbes article that he wrote.
I've read it. I came across it because someone said that bots were spamming it the other day, and I was just like, Gamergate has bots? I thought it was the other guys that had bots, and yeah, I don't know about Eric Kane's been kind of weird because he came on this like sitting on the fence.
He's still on the fence, I think. He's doing what we want journalists to do, which is why it bugs me when people shit on him, right? He's giving you both sides of the story, and then he's giving you a commentary. That's what you want from your journalists, right? You want your journalists to say, here's point A, here's point B, and here's where I sit, right? Like in the last paragraph, and here's where I sit. That's kind of what we want. And Eric Kane's doing it, and Gamergate people are shitting on him, and it bugs me.
I mean, he's clearly sympathetic to our side, because most journalists aren't. I mean, they wouldn't even go on Milo's show. I mean, there's a lot of different things. I mean, he's written a lot of stuff sympathetic to Gamergate's positions in the past too.
Oh, definitely. I think he's sympathetic.
I mean, it was like the Game Journal Pros list complaining that did Milo contact you and stuff. Did he even ask for an interview? And everybody pretty much said, no, he didn't. Well, fuck you. We have evidence right here from his Twitter feed that says, yes, he did.
He did. He asked Ben Kuchera specifically to come on the show.
Well, this leads into what I was wanting to talk about, which was like Gamergate shitting on people. Ever since 8chan or Infinite Chan came back, we had four threads today shitting on Monday Matt. We had a massive thread shitting on other celebrities, e-celebrities, and it's just full of infighting at the moment and shill shouting, as I've basically coined it. And it's just so counterproductive that if it's allowed to continue, then we're just going to end up fucking eating ourselves alive.
Yeah, which is we don't need that. I've said from the beginning, infighting is what is going to kill Gamergate as a movement.
Yes. And it's already I mean, I don't think it's already starting to, but the shill shouting, as it's now called, it was now coined here. The shill shouting is getting louder with anybody who's not 100% pro Gamergate, believes all the conspiracies. If they're not effectively, King of Paul or Roguestar or something like that, or Internet Aristocrat, because IA's already got a fuck ton of cred, right? But if you're not that, you're a shill in a lot of these people's minds, and it's going to hurt us.
I mean, that was the beauty of Gamergate when it started. It was we could civilly disagree with each other and yet still push the same message.
Exactly.
But now with, I mean, I hate to say it, but even like even 4chan wasn't really the home. Everyone was saying that that was the home of uh, of Gamergate, but it wasn't. It was Twitter. It was people having like you know very corner case conversations in 140 characters, trying to sum up a position. Not always agreeing, but you know. But having a very interesting sort of discourse. But now it's all started to turn into operations, chanology type esque kind of stuff. Some people are going a bit nuts, and I think we know. Well, we've had this conversation already today.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, right? I mean, I get it, right? Like operations sound fun and they sound cool, but they make you look like a retard on the outside, right? Like operation contact advertisers. How about you just contact advertisers? You know what I mean? Like, you don't need an operation name for it. It sounds all militaristic. Like this is some sort of war. And some would say it is a culture war. And maybe in some ways it is, but it's really not a war. You know what I
Well,
mean?
no, we didn't start it as a war. We're responding to it as a kind of war. The actual declaration of war was coined in an article by a feminist over here called Laurie Penny, and who is the kind of like she's the more sort of vocal, successful version of Pixie Jenny, as who we know, and she basically called this a culture war, and we're responding in kind to that.
And it's unfortunate because it doesn't have to be a war. And it's making it harder and harder to actually have a conversation. Not that many of them want to have a conversation, but some of them do, right? Like Eric Kane. Yeah, he's sympathetic to our side, but he's also sympathetic to the journalists, right? Which is a good thing. We need somebody in that middle. But it makes it hard to have a conversation with him when you respond to everything as an attack, as a bombing of your city. You know what I mean?
Because us doing that makes us no better than the other side.
Exactly. And it's slowly deteriorating into just two echo chambers shouting into their own echo chamber.
Yeah, with separate echo chambers for the hardcore fans as well. I mean, we've got 4 people watching here, but we're having a decent sort of conversation. These people aren't willing to talk unless there's about 2,000 people, unless they've got some form of I mean, we've got our own little celebrity in here as well.
We did. But we're not playing the shock jock role, which is
no, we're not.
The problem. If we were shock jocking, we'd have 400 viewers right now. You know what I mean? But we're not shock jocking, so people don't really want that. It feels like people don't want that civil discussion.
I do kind of. Yeah, they want the shock. They want the constant reassurance that shit's happening, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, part of it's that there is a lot of shit going on too, though, like other streams and shit.
Yeah, well, that's the other problem, right? Trying to find a time to stream right now is impossible because
there's another stream going on right now. That's what I'm saying. And there was King of Paul stream on before that, so I basically squeezed mine in earlier. I didn't even tell anybody about it, but just like an hour before, and then just kind of sprung it. But yeah, because I wanted to do one tonight too, but I just saw that everybody had something booked, so I just kind of got mine in this afternoon.
Well, did anyone watch the King of Pole?
He had a good crowd when I saw it. I watched a little bit of it. It's like 450 people watching it, I think, when I saw it.
But, well, I mean, what's it discussing, or is it just completely?
He had Roguestar on there. Roguestar was on mine too. And I think he's hitting up the rounds talking about. I mean, I don't mind the militaristic stuff. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't bother me as much. I know it bothers. I understand the other argument, but it's just like a fun kind of slogan. And they already say we try to make it militaristic anyway. So I don't know.
I get both sides. I just hate feeding into their rhetoric, and that's what it does, right? They've been saying since day one we're pushing this military war thing, and by naming it Operation and coming at it from a militaristic standpoint, you just feed into that rhetoric. And I've always been, quietly prove them wrong type guy. You know what I mean? Just make them look like fools. That's how I always fight everything. Make other people look like fools.
I think the difference is there is a different amount of level of invested interest basically in this. I mean, I got involved because I wanted to make sure that research, easily sort of accessible things, were made public to people, and that's why I helped Sargon basically. And I didn't actually. I mean, this is the second time I've actually appeared in a stream, and I didn't want to appear in that one that got me stuck with Pixie Jenny fucking shouting at us for 3 hours. That was awful, and I'd never want a repeat of that kind of thing again. I'm happy to sort of sit in the back and do sort of the groundwork. I mean, I freely admit I haven't sent one boycott information, basically, one boycott email, because, well, I got other things to do. But I have been, trying to provide this research assistance, and I think that's what most of the people in this sort of chat are kind of doing, quietly working behind the scenes without an ego, basically.
And that's been the hard part, is getting the ego out of it, because everybody sees a chance to capitalize. And I know Mundane Matt got some flack for that initially, because Mundane Matt has never been shy about his desire to make money and about his income, right? Mundane Matt makes a lot of money. He's never been shy about that, and I think he got flack initially as, oh, you're just doing it for the money. Oh, maybe he is. Milo's just doing it for the money. Christina Summers was just doing it for the viewers, right? I mean, yes, they actually probably believed what they say and all that, but Gamergate's a ginormous thing. You'd be stupid not to latch onto it for viewership. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's a marketing tool. It's anything like this, any sort of movement is. I mean, going back to the ALS, ice bucket challenge and things like that. It gives someone 15 minutes of fame, and that's all that we apparently want as a civilization.
Apparently. Well, you know what? You brought up a good point, and I'm gonna mute while I let you guys talk. I'm gonna make a cup of coffee. But how about we, Jerry and Ralph's, let us know why they're involved.
Yeah.
And what got them into this whole Gamergate stuff?
Well, I'll go first. Basically, what got me into it was I was following a few days before, but what really got me involved on the hashtag and stuff was the Lee Alexander article and the other article from Devin Wilson and Gama Sutra. And I was on the hashtag for a few weeks before I ever wrote anything about it, and I had the website, so I just kind of turned it into a Gamergate thing because I wasn't doing much with my website anyway. And that's kind of how I got involved, and wrote some stuff that got some attention about Lee Alexander, and I kind of got the ball rolling.
Did she ever personally address you back, or?
Well, when it first started, she said something about she was the reason I got any traffic, which was kind of true. So, but I wasn't that offended. So I just kind of laughed about that. But no, she's never responded to me directly besides that tweet. She favorited a tweet where some guy was saying that she shouldn't have to respond to me, but other than that, no.
I kind of got involved near when the Fine Young Capitalist started kind of popping up on my radar, because for the longest time I'd stayed off of 4chan, but then I saw this thing with the Fine Young Capitalist and what V was doing, because I'd never really been to V. I'd usually just surf like B and then later on TG. But
oh yeah, because Yeah, that's the thing. Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, because I never went on V either beforehand. I was K, TG, M, and occasionally B. That was about it.
Well, then I saw like the Fine Young Capitalist kind of pop up because I was off 4chan, but I was staying on Reddit a lot, and I was looking just through the front page one day, and then I saw um, somebody basically put in our best of someone talking about the Fine Young Capitalist and what happened with them, and and then I got curious. I was like, well, wait, what the hell happened? And what do these guys stand for? And then I started looking back into it, and it all kind of directed into V. And this was maybe a week or two before the 10 articles dropped in 48 hours. And then it just looked like what we did was we found all this stuff. We found there's collusion. We dropped it, and then they basically just shat on their entire consumer base. And I'm just like, all right, I know who I'm siding. I threw my flag up and said, all right, I know who I'm siding with, and now I know exactly what I need to do. And I hopped on Twitter.
It was funny, didn't that day when those 10, 11 articles like dropped, didn't it feel like it was over? It just felt like this is the end kind of thing.
Honestly, and obviously I wasn't alive for this because I was born way after it, but it felt like when Archduke Franz Ferdinand got shot, like that's when this stuff all kicked off. Like it was that big.
It was just like the catalyst, but there's been multiple sort of points in Gamergate where I just thought, well, that's it, we've lost, and we keep on going. I'm just trying to remember them, but that was one where I was just like, well, you can't fucking fight 10 articles. And then people just carried on fighting 10 articles.
Because gamers are, as the internet aristocrat said, do never underestimate our autism.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's just, and I guess for me, a little history is I actually found out about this, and maybe I'm embarrassed to admit it, on Encyclopedia Dramatica, which I absolutely love. I think Encyclopedia Dramatica is the best place in the world because it's all total vile, toxic bullshit, but it's a lot of fun to read.
Nothing wrong with that. It's the most neutral source right now in Gamergate.
It is, yeah.
It's just totally weird to say.
Apart from everything happens last Thursday.
Yeah. What happened last Thursday?
What?
What happened last Thursday?
Oh, no. In every article it just says most things happened last Thursday.
Oh, yes. But this is actually where I found out about it. I got involved, believe it or not, because of the social justice bullshit. It's hit me, being an adjunct teacher. I don't have to deal with it nearly as much, but it basically pushed me out of my local uni and teaching my course online, which is a good thing because as I work from home, I don't ever actually have to go anywhere, so I guess that's not a bad thing. So I'm here mainly because I am a gamer, but also because this social justice shit pisses me off. I remember playing AAU soccer and finishing third, and basically be given a pat on the back and told to go home. And now they get like trophies and shit. You know what I mean? And that bugs me. So I'm really here, actually, maybe sort of like Sargon, not so much against the feminists, but against the social justice bullshit. I have a hard time with that.
Yeah, because I still love the way that Christopher Titus in the old days used to be, because that was the way mine was. Whenever I would do something, it's like, whenever we lost a game, nobody got the losers didn't get a trophy. You got pizza and you got shut the fuck up. That was what you got.
And it's true. It's a trophy.
Yeah.
So somebody asked what's going on with 4chan. I am not a channer, so I can't speak to it, but I know we have channers here who can speak to what happened with 4chan, what happened there. And that story.
It seems to be just carrying on as normal, to be honest. I mean, it depends which board you go on. I was quite interested. You go on TG, did you say?
I don't go on anything.
No.
I do. Yeah, I do occasionally.
Yeah, TG just seems to remain the same. K got a bit. The weapons board got a bit funny at one point, and loads of stories came out about Well, loads of threads just came out about women in the military and just lots of bitching about that, and then they started turning on each other, and it kind of was quite amusing to watch. That's about the only input I
Because
see.
I'm about to say, I reckon the moment I knew 4chan was dead when I saw that A had banned a waifu thread. I was like, yep, that's death right there, because that's basically at least on the front page of A every hour there is a waifu thread somewhere.
Wow. Didn't. Oh man.
Because that happened during the weekend that the entire nation of Germany got banned and everything was getting deleted off of V, and then I saw A got a waifu thread taken down. I'm like, yep, that's death knell right there. Time to find somewhere else.
Yeah, it's definitely time to find somewhere else. So Elm heard about Moot and doesn't really know anything other than he's helping censoring things. Well, Moot is like 4chan, right? Moot owns 4chan. He runs 4chan. He's the super god of 4chan. He is helping to censor Gamergate, which is unfortunate because 4chan really was built, from my understanding, I'm not a channer, right? But I've always known it's been a safe haven for free speech, and you can pretty much say anything and everything, and nobody really cared until this really happened. Now,
Yeah.
the question of, is Moot a shill, or is Moot just covering his ass because of the fappening, right? And is he just saying, fuck all this, I don't want to be involved in anything?
Well, no, he basically gave a big fuck you to all of Gamergate, because all the entire weekend that everything was getting taken down, we found out that he was at XOXO Fest, which may have something to do with it. We correlation does not imply causation, but that's pretty strong correlation. But when he was at the weekend at XOXO Fest, he came back and basically made a sticky on V saying Gamergate threads need to move away.
Why? He let the
Because they weren't relevant according to video games. I mean, my theory is, Moot's been trying to sell 4chan for ages and move on to other projects. He's lumbered with the fact that he created, the arsehole of the internet. And he's been trying to rebuild and rebrand his image for quite some time. And this just seems like a perfect opportunity.
Well, and then there was the fact that someone moved a post from V to, and this was on the deletion weekend as well. They moved a Gamergate post from V to B, which is, for those of you who don't know, that's random. And they posted it in there, and the user got banned, and the thread got deleted for it being off topic.
How are you off topic on random?
That they said it, and the mods in there. I know the mods in there, how they operate. They can delete what they want to, but just for that reasons, like, seriously.
I was just, to be honest, the one that's most shocked me is Reddit, basically, as well.
That
yeah.
shocked me because they put somebody like Ian Miles Chong, or Chiong, or however you say his last name, in charge. So anything that happens on Reddit does not surprise me.
Yeah, because I've known about shadow banning for a good while now. I've known that shadow banning has been a thing, but it wasn't really used to this extent.
No, I've known about that as well, but I was just quite surprised at how they were basically... I mean, I don't know why I was surprised, but when that massive reveal came out, there was an audio interview with a guy that got banned from our video games or gaming, about how the system of moderators and admins worked and how fucking corrupt that was.
Oh yeah.
I was just. I mean, I don't know why, but I was quite surprised. Tickled me naive, basically. I thought that was. I thought Reddit would be a bit, slightly above that type of thing.
Well, I posted a link to our paste bin in gaming from a throwaway account, and within 5 minutes, I was fucking shadow banned, and the post was deleted.
Damn.
So,
Hey guys, I'm I'm about to have to jump off of this stream because I gotta go eat something.
go do what you gotta do, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I appreciate y'all having me though. I think I'm not sure how many viewers we have, but
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we can schedule a better time next time maybe, and
Yeah, no, but like I said, nobody really wants to hear moderate talk, right?
Well, I mean, no, I think there's a place for it, but
Oh, I
I
agree.
mean,
There is a place for it.
I ran a on my site today. I ran a moderate. I mean, it was a guest column because I'm not really a moderate myself, but I ran a moderate column by Critical Kelly. So yeah, I mean, there's a place for everybody.
There is. I think more people are, rubbernecking, right? American specifically.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's true that people generally, veer towards the more, bombastic or extreme, but
All right,
yeah.
cool. Thanks for joining us, man.
All right, man, I appreciate it. I'll talk to you on Twitter.
All right, I'll see
Nice to meet you, man.
All right, man. Good to meet you.
All right, thanks.
What was there was something else I wanted to talk about too. Now I don't fucking remember. Oh, I'm getting totally off topic. Well, maybe not off topic because it is social justice bullshit. Are any of you familiar with the white knight syndrome?
I'm familiar with white knighting, but not white knight syndrome.
No, you spoke about this earlier, and I didn't know who sort of coined that phrase. I've known about white knighting since day one of the internet, but
So, white knight syndrome. There are a fuck ton of sociology, psychology studies and academic studies about it, and it usually refers to relationships. Somebody who will put themselves in a relationship with somebody who's fucked up or troubled, hoping they can fix that person. It's almost like a minor version of the hero complex. You know, somebody who starts a fire and then puts it out.
yeah.
It's that. They come into a situation. So imagine a girl who was raped, for instance, which is a terrible scenario, but it's one of the articles I read, who was raped, and then this guy puts themselves in a relationship with this woman, hoping they can fix that relationship.
Okay, then yeah, I know this because bad previous relationship and and it kind of tore me up. So I talked with somebody who was into psychology and whatnot, and he basically said that I had that.
Yeah, and some people don't call it the white knight syndrome, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it was called the rescuer syndrome or something
yeah,
like
the
that.
rescuer is another term for it. But you put yourself in a situation where you hope you can rescue the person.
I think I've done that as well, and it's quite catastrophic, and
It
can
is.
it can lead to some really bad mental health transfers, basically, of you going down while the other person gets, all of your sort of attention and goodwill, and you get basically sucked down into a pit of despair yourself.
You do. And the reason it's relevant is if you read some of these studies, I can give a link. I've got them somewhere. I'll pull them out. Probably on my other computer, because I don't see them in my toolbar here. But anyways, they talk about how the person typically views the other person as weak or weaker than them and unable to solve their own problems and are in need of their help. And then they go on to talk about men doing this to women, right? If you see, and one of the examples given was if you see a woman slapping a guy, how many guys stand up to defend themselves, to defend that guy? Probably none, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in public and a guy sees a man slap a woman, how many men stand up to defend her?
Which one wouldn't is the question.
All of them, right? So, and it goes on to explain how men tend to be more susceptible to white knight syndrome, and how men tend to view women in this weak way, which kind of gets into making the feminist point. But then you look at it and you look at all these men who are so anti-Gamergate, and oh my God, you're talking bad about Lee Alexander, and I have to wonder. Are they somehow in this Are they somehow suffering from this? Yes, basically codependency, sort of, right? It sort of is codependency.
Well, I saw a classic post that summed it all up, basically, which was, "Will Gamergate stop, fucking messing with my friends?" It was just this one guy's only post, basically, to the hashtag, and all female sort of friends, basically, on when you investigated the profile, and it's just like, yeah, you're white knighting, but you know, I think there's not a person here that wouldn't leap to somebody's defense, you know, if they were personally involved.
And I think this picture, and I'll post it in the chat, sums up the whole thing perfectly. Yep.
Which chat? The Hangout chat or the?
Yeah, I threw it in the Hangout chat, and I'm going to throw it in the main chat, too.
You got to take the links out. Maidens that I've rescued on the internet. Yes, that's totally what I was getting at, right? So you see all these men like Devin and like John Sterling, to some Movie Bob, Tim Schafer, right? You see basically white knighting all these women. I have to wonder if there's something deeper to that, right? Or is it as simple as they view women as weak? And if they do, isn't that fucking ironic?
It is ironic, and I can see why you've brought it up, and because it, you know, and I disagree with the bottom statement on that, because it's not. I don't think it's just sex for some of them. I just think it's been noticed, you know, in a sea of adoring fans, basically.
Well, what do they think they're going to get out of it, right? Like, you see all these people.
Sex recognition, whichever one you want to go with.
But yeah, that's a recognition. I guess you're right, but you see all these people, like, for instance, jump to Lee Alexander's defense. She's been very vocal about how she's a megaphone. She is journalism. She needs nobody's fucking help, right? She is the leader of the internet. Why is everybody jumping to her defense?
Mm.
And does anybody jump to movie Bob's defense, right? Like,
some people do, but
I've seen people do that. There are people with just emotionally invested attachments to strange things, to strange body. I guess like our commitment to Gamergate could be viewed in exactly the same, maybe the same kind of way. We're defending we're defending an organic organism, basically. The same as, well, it's organic in a kind of way that it's grown, but it's still very sort of abstract. I don't know.
See, I've never seen anybody jump to movie Bob's defense like they have Zoe Quinn, right? Like, what I think it was on a stream with Sargon, where Sargon basically just shat all over movie Bob, right?
Oh yeah.
IA, pretty much all of them. IA, King of Pole, Sargon, they've all shat on movie Bob.
But if they were to shat on Zoe Quinn or maybe not Lee Alexander, because I think she's viewed stronger, quote unquote, than Zoe Quinn. So let's just say, like, if they were to shat all over literally who like that, wouldn't their defense been far bigger? And why? Right? Like, I always ask why. So why?
Are you trying to push for the sort of female sort of angle, then?
Well, here's also the thing. Zoe Quinn, by far, has played a better victim than Lee Alexander has.
Yes.
Lee Alexander has come off as very kind of vicious and attacking and going after people who are basically shitting on her, whereas Zoe Quinn just kind of backed off and went into the...
I don't know. I disagree on that one, because in the articles that she's done for newspapers, yeah, she's played a fantastic victim, you know, pity me. But her Twitter's quite inflammatory.
Yeah, that is true.
Like the other day, she had like her boyfriend take a picture of her swearing at a fan, you know, and it's Zoe Quinn tells a fan to fuck off. You know, it's constantly poking fun at the situation, and she knows that she's kind of like untouchable now, because as soon as someone goes, you know what, Zoe, you're full of fucking shit, she'll just go, misogynies, and that'll be the end of that person. You know, you can become hyper irrelevant basically as soon as these people, you know, their gay shift towards you. Lee Alexander's just been a cunt. You know, she's got
no argument here.
Yeah, she's got nothing. She's got nothing to.
Somebody's
sorry,
soggy knees, calling her a cunt. So that's gonna happen now.
Oh yeah, out of the how many people? There's 5 people now. Yeah, I can properly testify to the fact that I think Lee Alexander is a cunt, and if that calls, if I'm a misogynist, well, what else? What other words could I
Well,
possibly use? to
here's the
describe
thing: you have an English accent, so you can get away
Yeah.
with calling someone a cunt. Whereas
Oh,
in the U.S., we couldn't.
yeah, I've noticed that you can't seem to get away with it as much.
No, we
Yeah.
can't say cunt or twat. They're both like, they're like worse than like fuck or shit now. You know what I mean?
I don't get any shit for saying, for calling somebody a twat. I'll immediately get shit from a woman if I call someone a cunt.
Oh, really? I get shit here in the Northeast. I was almost gonna say my state, but not like 5 people are gonna dox me or not. Here in Connecticut, I get shit no matter if I say twat. It's like as bad as saying cunt for me.
The only thing in the southern portion of the United States we get is if you call someone a cunt, then you're done.
Wow, I'd be screwed.
That's one thing I never got, right? Like, okay, so yes, there are gender-specific insults, right? A woman's a cunt, a guy's a dick, a guy's a cock, right? Whatever. You know what I mean? There are gender-specific insults.
Well, there are, but when you mix them together, like cock juggling thunder cunt, I mean, you break them down.
That is one of my favorite ones, by the way.
Yeah. You're breaking down the barriers there. You're being progressive because
You are, right? You're using multiple genders. But the
Exactly.
point I was going at is, why does it even matter? Can't somebody just be a cunt? Why does it have to be gender? Can't somebody just be a dick? Regardless of their gender. Lee Alexander would be a dick if she was a guy. She would be just as much of a dick, and I dislike her just as much.
Well, the thought pattern is that you're calling someone a cunt because that's the most horriblest, thing that you could equate them to. So you think a vagina is a really disgusting thing right now. I don't. I just think, what is the nastiest word that I could possibly think of with those connotations? Not even, it's just the language that I use it rather than what it actually stands for, basically.
And who would try to imply a man thinks the vagina is the ugliest thing in the world? I think every straight man would spend his entire day with his head in a vagina, right?
Oh
Yeah.
God! I mean, you're not wrong. Well, no, it's like, but here's the thing I noticed, and I was listening to like Rooster Teeth Let's Plays and stuff like that, and I noticed something that one of the guys said, and I thought about it, and it's kind of true. And it's like, penises are funnier than vaginas. I will say that.
They are.
But calling someone a cock is not as funny as,
Calling
as
somebody
calling. Yeah. Because it really it's the way you can like put it to somebody. It's no whole. You know that you can properly enunciate that word to make it sound like this person is about to, receive the biggest bollocking of their life.
Exactly. And you know what else is? I posted this on Twitter, and I wasn't joking. I sat down with my 4-month-old son and had a talk with him about how his life is screwed. He's going to be oppressing everybody, no matter what he does, because he was born a white male. Whether he's going to be straight or cis or whatever is unimportant at 4 months old, right? He was born a white male, so therefore he is now oppressing everybody.
Oh, I think Salon.com would have an argument with you.
Why?
I cannot find the article, but I read one from, I think it was Salon, or it could have been Jezebel, because we know how reputable those two magazines are, that said the moment of getting identified as a gender is when oppression begins.
Wow.
I could not make that up.
When did this kind of shit happen? That was the thing. When the hell did all that cisgender bullshit start? Because I completely missed the memo on that. I don't know what to call myself these days.
Oh, I don't know either, but it's just like, well, because it's been going on since Tumblr activism has been a thing. Because I remember when Tumblr started. Because I can remember when Tumblr started. It was a bunch of artsy people posting their work and stuff like that to get exposure. And then all of a sudden, it just turned into this hive of social justice.
So Adam Baldwin asked this question. Oh, well, before I get to that, I want to continue down this path about how this made me depressed. How the fuck can my 4-month-old son be oppressing anybody just because he's a white male? You know what I mean? Like, he did not choose to be a white male. That was, unless there's some big spiritual fucking God thing that gave him a choice that we know absolutely nothing about, right? He was not given the choice to be a white male. Why does that automatically mean oppression?
Because he comes with the guilt, because that's associated.
Yeah,
it's by association.
Yeah, he comes with white privilege.
You're making my head hurt.
Well, no, that only because it genuinely used to be kind of a thing in the United States during the Civil Rights Movement and prior to that, that if you were white, you could go places.
Yes, you could. You could drink at a water fountain that a black guy couldn't.
Yeah.
Is it like that these days?
Yeah, it's an extension. This is an extension. Is that white guilt didn't stop with civil rights? It's it's white privilege. So especially in your country, by the looks of it, basically you've got every single day you have got to be made aware that you are the privileged. Check your damn privilege, and so it doesn't really matter, if somebody did decide it or not. It's just that he's born with that stigma now. But then you sound like an MRA, basically. I mean, it's sad, it's true, but it's just something you have to deal with.
That sucks, right? And what I find most funny about that is, based on the privilege scale, yes, I'm a white male, but I also dropped out of high school and have no college degree, which is funny that I now teach in a college, but that was total, as I said last stream, that was all nepotism. I happen to know the dean. So that was total nepotism there. But with those two things, most of these people that are telling me I'm privileged are way more privileged than I am, because they have a high school degree, they have a college education. And I find that fucking funny.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the irony of it. The irony of the situation.
And I saw this on Twitter earlier, and it actually made me laugh out loud. And my wife didn't get why I was laughing. It was a picture of XOXO, which was like 80% white male with a couple white females scattered in between. And then there was a picture of, I think, Pixel Metal at one of the conferences of people playing his games. And it was like a woman of color, a Chinese guy, a white guy, and a black guy. And it's like, which one's the diverse, And you say we're not diverse? Look at these people playing video games. You know what I mean? Like, they're of all race, sex, and gender. And here's your big hug fest, and they're all white men or white female.
Well, that's the point. We have been diverse for so long, but we've never really noticed it, have we?
Yeah, we didn't care. Gamers don't care. We're sitting in front of a screen. We don't get to see the other person. We don't know what, race, gender identification they use or anything like that. They've just been another person. We've never viewed them as anything less or more, unless you're shit talking them.
And you know what's funny about that? And I've been hesitant to say this because I don't want to be the guy that is blaming the woman with the short skirt. But one thing gamers hate, right, and you see this a lot in WoW or Final Fantasy XIV or any MMO, is when a woman goes out of her way to make it known she's a woman. Most gamers are going to fucking harp on her and troll her harder. Not because she's a woman, but because she went out of her way to say, hey guys, I'm a woman, I have tits.
Oh, have you ever seen the explanation of tits or get the fuck out on 4chan?
No, I haven't.
It was because if you identify yourself as a woman on that site on an anonymous image board, then therefore you are saying that your value as a woman is greater than someone else's value.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, let me pull it up. I'll dump it in there.
I believe that. Which is why, in some ways, they might be right? Like, women get more harassment in video games. But it's not because they're a woman. It's because they went out of their way to identify themselves as a woman.
I've known. Oh, sorry.
No, gamers don't want to know if you're a man or a woman, white or black, because we don't fucking care. We want to frag you and move on. We don't, we're going to frag you, we're going to teabag you, and move on. If you make it a point to let it know you're a woman, I think it pisses gamers off, because they're like, I don't fucking care, right? Just like if somebody went out of their way to say, yo, man, I'm black. I don't think they would like that. They would start using the N-word on them.
Oh.
Because they're racist, but because why you got to make a point out of it.
I found the explanation for it, like the entire explanation for tits to get the fuck out.
You hold on that. I want to let Cerberus.
That's fine.
His thought.
Oh no. My thought was that when we were sitting there, when we were playing, the proper female gamers were the ones that were exactly like us, that just identified as gamers. They didn't make a point of bringing their gender into the fact that they were something special, and that's why they were welcomed with open arms. The hostility that a lot of the female gamers get is because they're like, look at me. I mean, I've seen it. I've fucking sat next to someone that's exactly like that, basically, who was like, I'm a female, give me attention, or I'll basically, shit all over your supposed manhood and things like that. They brought more problems when there were none in the first place, basically, those type of people. They made the environment toxic. And they gave gaming women, the worst fucking, name possible.
And that's why I think maybe in some ways they're right? Women get more harassment in video games. Maybe they do, but again, it's not because they're a woman. It's because they brought it's because they were using it as a way of getting more attention, right? Like when you see, I don't know how many of you played WoW, but when you see that night elf on top of the mailbox dancing naked and shouting, I'm a woman. You're saying, pay attention to me. I'm a woman. My tits are important. In a video game, your tits aren't important. They're important in bed, right? When I'm doing things to my wife that nobody needs to know about because they're disgusting. That's when they're important, right? They're not important in a video game. I don't play video games to think about a woman naked, right? I play video games to destroy elves. Or apparently not know if I'm trying to kiss or kill my wife, because I can't. I don't know. I'm hitting square both cases. I don't know what the difference is.
Unless you're playing Second Life, and well, you know what happened with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so this tits are get the fuck out. I want to hear this.
And this is a screen cap post from 4chan. It was if I can pontificate for a bit for your edification, one of the rules of the internet is there are no girls on the internet. This rule does not mean what you think it means. In real life, people like you for being a girl. They want to fuck you, so they pay attention, and they pretend what you have to say is interesting or that you are smart or clever. On the internet, we don't have a chance to fuck you. This means the advantage of being a girl does not exist. You don't get a bonus to conversation just because I'd like to put my cock in you. When you make a post like herder, I'm a girl, you are begging for attention. The only reason to post it is because you want your girl advantage back, because you were too vapid or too stupid to do or say anything interesting without it. You are forgetting the rules. There are no girls on the internet. The one exception to this rule, the one way you can get your girlness back on the internet, is to post your tits. This and should be degrading for you, an admission that the only thing interesting about you is your naked body. TLDR, tits or get the fuck out.
That's a very interesting way of looking at there are no girls on the internet, right? When most people hear that, the first thing they think is, haha, girls can't be nerds. But what that post is saying is essentially there are no girls or there are no guys on the internet, right? We're just anonymous blobs talking to each other. And that is phenomenal. That's what you want. Your gender doesn't matter when you're having a conversation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways it does, right? And it depends on what you're talking about. But if
I'm obviously going to ask a woman. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
I mean, it's like if I want to know about some specifically womanly issue, yeah, I'm going to ask a woman. But other than that, that doesn't matter.
And maybe this is where they're coming from, right? Everybody's assuming we're all guys, so we have to be important. But I don't think we're assuming we're all guys. At least I don't. I assume I'm talking to a man or a woman. I'm assuming I'm talking to a genderless blob, right?
I don't talk on games. I don't, not anymore. I mean, because it's just fucking irritating. I don't. And all these people that are saying, they receive shit in the chat. Why do you go on the chat in the first place? Mostly people go on the chat to get some form of sort of attention, basically, and or some gratification or sort of some description. Most people who just want to play the game. They don't plug in a headset. They don't talk, basically.
Well, my thing on this was I said to somebody way back at the beginning of Gamergate how they've obviously spent no time in the Barrens, right? And again, if you guys ever played WoW, you know what the Barrens is. And their response was something along the lines of, Well, no, but my wife has, and the minute they found out she was a woman, she got a bunch of text messages about cybering or whatever. And I'm like, of course you did. This is a bunch of 14-year-old kids in the Barrens, which is a notoriously fucking, it's 4chan of WoW, right? And she went out of her way to say, hey, I have tits. Of course she got 14-year-old boys asking her to cyber. Well, do you not think, right? Like, do you not put your head down and say, what are the ramifications of my actions?
Well, apparently the the crux of the argument that they have is that there are, they can make these kind of mistakes, but seem to kind of get away with it sort of scot-free. You know, that it's like it's kind of like knowing your audience basically, and people, you know, you don't. But then again, I guess we get into the realms of, you know, slut shaming and things like that. You don't walk down the street in a fucking G-string, do you? You know your audience when you go outside. You don't go out in a fucking, you know, mankini like Borat if you're a bloke, you know, for fear of sort of ridicule and things like that. It's just kind of like know your audience, know what you're doing, have some responsibility basically for your actions.
You know, this slut shaming thing is another thing that pisses me off. And I get in maybe general society, it is okay for a man to sleep with 50 women, right? And they'll be patted on the back, but it's not okay for a woman to sleep with 50 women. In my mind, if you're sleeping with 50 people before you're 30, you should be shamed. I don't care if you're a man or a woman.
Mm-hmm.
That's disgusting. You know what I mean? Like, you deserve to be shamed. If Zoe Quinn posted about how Aaron slept with 5 different women during a 6-month relationship, he should be shamed. That's not slut shaming. That's not anything, right? That's disgusting.
So does Gamergate spring from our moral outrage basically about that then?
I mean, in a way, it did. But I don't know, that's something that pissed me off, right? That whole, well, stop slut shaming Zoe. Well, we're not. What she did was morally repulsive.
Yeah, I mean that. Well, and it's not even that. It's I hate people who use that argument that this is just about her sex life. It's like, no, it's not her sex life. It's what transpired because of that.
Yes.
People are just trying to make it say, oh, this is just about someone's sex life. Well, no, it's not. I mean, yes, she had sex with people. That's fine. We are not discrediting that or saying it's a bad thing. We're saying, well, what came out of having sex with people?
Yeah, and I mean, I do not look good on Zoe for cheating on her boyfriend. I won't shy away from that, but that's something I have a huge problem with, right? Like, if you're in a committed relationship, you're in a committed relationship, right? Unless both parties agree it's an open relationship, cheating is bad. That is my belief. Other people are more polygamy belief, but you know what? In a polygamous relationship, everybody's on board. Aaron definitely wasn't on board, and the chat log showed he definitely wasn't on board. So I don't forgive that. But like you said, the larger ramification is she's sleeping with her boss. She's sleeping with journalists. That's a problem. I don't care what industry you're working in. When you have people who have the ability to sway other people spending money on you, that is a problem when they're fucking you.
So
go ahead.
So it's always about the ramifications then, is it not? Because that's exactly what I just said. Knowing the ramifications of one's actions, and instead of trying to divorce responsibility from that down to society, you know, trying to make society a completely neutral place, basically, it just won't happen. People are not taking responsibility for their actions anymore.
At this point, it's
a problem. That's I know Jerry can speak to this too. At least in my opinion, that's a big problem in the U.S. Right? We've become sue happy.
Oh, absolutely.
There are people like in New York City who make a living out of jumping out in front of cars, getting ran over, and suing them for the money. We're now to a point where, and I don't have a problem with sex education in schools, but I'm just using this as an example, where sex education is taught in schools because parents don't want to teach it at home. It's just responsibility slowly being pushed more and more to society as a whole rather than your individual self, right? It's getting to a point where you're no longer responsible for your own actions.
Yeah, it's about nobody being a fucking adult anymore.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that pisses me off when people use the free speech argument here in the U.S. anyways. They go, well, free speech. Well, no. Free speech gives you the right to say what you want. Yes, to a degree, right? It does. But free
Yeah.
speech also doesn't mean you don't have to accept consequences for
Yeah.
what you say.
Yeah, freedom, and I hate to say this, Movie Bob actually he made a video about this on The Escapist in the Big Picture. He said, yes, freedom of speech is good, but it does not mean freedom from consequences.
Exactly.
But what are we the thing here is, what are we dealing with really is that we're going to get into this sort of argument where people are saying, yeah, I'm just going back to what you were saying about, the woman in Warcraft, who revealed her gender basically. I mean, to our eyes, we were all gender neutral until this character made this assertion. So should she constantly be allowed to be safe, from ramification, basically, in that online society, ramifications of her actions, consequences of them, or should she actually suffer as she did, for that? I mean, this is the thing. Is it? It's kind of a massive juxtaposition here of what their sort of point is. I'm just trying to get my own head around it, basically, as well.
I think if you do an action, you are susceptible to the consequences. To me, it's as simple as that. If you make it known you're a woman and you have double D tits, you better expect people to ask you to show your tits.
Especially on somewhere like 4chan.
Yes, tits or get the fuck out, right? Like, there are no women on the internet. There are no men on the internet. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
And if you make it known, you should be willing to accept that consequence.
So we're specifically limiting this to certain sort of examples, especially within the gaming sort of thing, that that people should, because I don't think is there a male version of this, except in, whenever a male person makes like a fuck up, will they or says something, will they get berated at that level, sort of sexually, as a woman?
Probably not. And why probably not? I think that 4chan post said it perfectly, right? A woman's power, and I hate to use that term, but a woman's power in society, like at a bar, let's not even say in society, right? Like, a woman's power at a bar is really her body, right? The chance you might get to have sex with her. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And that's what men want, ultimately. I mean, I'm a big proponent of, ultimately, we are biologically animals, right? Our goal on this planet is to reproduce. I believe that. I honestly believe that, just like the goal of my dog is to have a litter, and the goal of my cats is to have a litter, and the goal of that squirrel is to fuck that red squirrel across the street. You know what I mean? Like,
to promulgate the species, basically,
yes,
to continue the message, yeah.
So a woman's ability, a woman's power in that setting is a woman, is being a woman and the ability to reproduce and all that. The minute you bring that into the online world, you're saying, I still have power over you, and treat me with somebody who has this power to, reproduce. But we can't online. So they probably do, and I lost my train of thought. So no, a man probably doesn't get that same level of harassment. But in society, or not in society, in nature, there are very few animal kingdoms where the woman goes after the male. It's almost entirely the male goes after the woman. And that's just a nature thing. So the minute you bring your gender into it, you're bringing that natural instinct of, I want to reproduce with you, into it. That's my opinion.
Jerry?
Well, I mean, it is interesting to say the least. I mean, I can't really speculate on that at the moment because I'm still trying to mull it over in my head, so I've only got a couple of, so I haven't really came up with a response to that quite yet.
No, that's fine. I think though that it is kind of interesting. I think that there are problems. I've seen some problems in the gaming communities that have been brought about by idiots, that have been brought about by attention seekers, and those that have given the overall a bad name. I'm not. I mean, one of the things I was willing to assert when Gamergate started was that no side was, perfect, and that we did have our sort of issues with regards to, gender in sort of gaming, because the kind of things that we're talking about right now, it almost like sounds like she's asking for it, kind of, that kind of terminology. She was asking for it, and I've always thought that always sounds a bit sort of odd.
Yeah,
That always sounds wrong.
I'm not trying to say she's asking for it because
Oh no, I'm not trying to say that, but it can be interpreted by individuals, who I think there's a whole interesting thing that Gamergate has brought around, which is language, basically, and the way that people construe certain words. It's like going back to the word "cunt," seeing that as offensive.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, maybe in a way I am saying she's asking for it, but not in the way that people hear it, right? Like I said, I'm a big proponent in biology, right, and in nature,
Hmm.
and I think it's a very natural thing, and I don't mean any offense to somebody who's homosexual or bisexual, right? That's also natural, but I think the majority of people are straight, right? And when a guy sees a woman, his thought is reproduction, right? I want to reproduce. This woman's got a nice body. She looks like she can carry a child. You know what I mean? And she'd be a good caregiver for my offspring. So I want to reproduce with this woman. The minute you bring that woman, that gender into the online world, it's just a natural thing. I want to reproduce with this woman. I'm going to treat her like a woman. And being treated like a woman happens to mean I'm a 14-year-old boy, so I want to see your tits.
Yeah, I mean, honest to God, think about it. How many times when someone announces their gender in a game, or they even walk in with something like a female character, they immediately get showered in good gear.
Oh, God, yeah. And I've proved that because I actually started in Final Fantasy XI. I remade my character because I was arguing with somebody that I could get free stuff by being a female Mithra, and they did not believe me. And I got, like, power level to level 90. Or no, at the time it was level 75. To level 75 in like a week. All because I was a female character. I never once said I was a woman, but I never once said I was a guy.
It's interesting.
It happens. I firmly believe it's biological. It's nature. I know people disagree with that. And there's this whole feminist biology shit and I'll probably be considered a bio-truther or whatever the fuck that means. But it's biological. It's nature, right?
God, don't mention feminist biology. That subject makes my head hurt.
I don't even know what it means. I've just heard it mentioned, and I haven't Googled it because I'm afraid it will make my head hurt.
It's basically the study of how gender bias affected biology, which is fine, but it's not a biology course. It's a history course.
But how did gender bias affect biology?
Certain papers and theories got pushed over others because of old long-standing gender biases and things like that, like prior to basically the second wave of feminism.
But how? I mean, how does the way society treats you? How does that affect your biology? Are we going that evolution, which doesn't happen in 100 years? That happens in 100,000 years.
That's the thing. It wasn't a science course. It was more like a historical study, because that's what it talked about. It talked about, it taught more about how gender bias affected research and how certain papers were pushed over others. It didn't talk about biology itself. As a matter of fact, I'll pop the article up.
Then that doesn't make sense to me. How is there a female feminist biology course?
Biology.
Like that makes my head hurt.
Okay, here it is from Pop Sci, the article that I found the subject in. So this fellowship is from it's a Q&A with Professor Janet Hyde at University of Wisconsin-Madison. Question was posed. So what? For this fellowship for feminist biology, what is feminist biology? It's she responds as a couple of things. One is that it's a critique of past gender bias in biology. So it's pointing at the problems that have existed with the theories or the methods in traditional biology. And the second part is that it's creating new research, new topics, new methods, new theories that remove the gender bias and take women into account fairly. I have no problem with the critiquing of past gender bias because face it, gender bias back in in the 20s and even further back was a thing. But it's kind of moved out of that, but creating new research and new topics and new methods. What's wrong with the methods we have now? They work.
They do.
I mean, and I've always considered science to be kind of a genderless thing.
Gender neutral more
Yeah.
than yeah.
So it's kind of a biology.
Say that again. Your mic went kind of weird.
I said it's not even a biology course.
No,
So why are we calling it feminist biology?
I have no idea.
I think there really needs to be a reassertion of what is what. You know, what is literally a subject and what or what it professes to be, because there's nothing in there that talks about that was kind of tacked on the end of the description that they try new research, but into what exactly? What biology was performed in that class?
As far as I can see, nothing really. Let's see. Are there any examples? The only example she's given, she's even asked to give, is the examples of gender bias in biology.
How do you have gender bias in biology? Like, how? Biology is biology.
Do they rate somebody's organs more than a, you know?
I have no idea. Well, because this is the example they give of the gender bias thing, which I'm kind of okay with. Some of the best examples are actually in observational studies of primates. Sarah Blafer Hardy has a whole book on primate behavior in ways she thinks it's been distorted in researchers' interpretations. That seems weird. For example, for many years they have ignored female aggressiveness and female-dominated hierarchies. That's one of the species that's actually the specific species of monkeys that actually have a matriarchal society. There's a famous study on the size of the corpus callosum, which is a region of the brain. It has to do with the communication between the two hemispheres. The study claimed that this region was larger in women than in men, which allowed them to communicate, which allowed more communication between their hemispheres. It's consistent with the stereotype of females as being good communicators, right? But when researchers try to replicate the findings, they couldn't replicate it, and it directs to something. Oh, it.
So they're basically calling out bad research practices, but that's not.
That's science. Period.
Yeah. Why does
that
have that? Yeah.
I'm still confused. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, okay, so you're saying researchers misinterpreted interactions between primates. Okay. Why the feminist spin? Why not just researchers misinterpreted their interaction?
I think they're trying to say that we have an agenda.
Yeah, it's like, why are you not just calling this biology? Because this is biology. This doesn't need the feminist name tagged onto it.
Exactly. Why is it not just science? Right? That's the whole point of science. I mean, and that's one thing I guess a lot of people miss with science is the point of science isn't so much to prove something. The point of science, at least the way I see it and the way I've practiced it, is to disprove something. Right? You set out to disprove somebody else's theory, or you set out basically to disprove your own theory. And if you happen to prove it along the way, cool. But
Yeah,
you really set out to disprove it.
Yeah, you make a theory, you stand by it, you try to keep it from being discredited, but hey, if it gets discredited, it gets discredited, and then you move on and try to make another one.
So I'm having a real hard time wrapping my brain around.
Well, somebody in the chat says they think mostly male animals are tested. Drugs are not really adequately tested for females.
They think because mostly male animals are tested, drugs are you serious? Is that like really a thing? That
I mean, it very well could be. It could just be they're grabbing a random sample and they happen to grab more men than women. But that's random sampling. That's a double-blind study.
yeah, but I think what he's saying is more animals are used.
Or mostly male animals, yeah.
Yeah, mostly male animals are used for the study. But that makes sense because
And
lab rats aren't easy to get your hands on, right? So you keep you keep females for breeding. Yeah, okay, that is maybe in a way fucked up, but you keep females for breeding, right? And you keep testing on males. Are we that? I mean, we're different biologically, but are we that different that a drug would react different to a man and a woman?
yeah, it kind of can because of certain hormone balances and certain brain chemistry and things like that. But other than that, they're
Yeah, like steroids, or maybe not even so much steroids, but I would bet steroids. But you know, things that affect hormones and all that. Yes, birth control is going to affect differently. Yeah, that's an argument they make. That makes my head spin. I'm sure birth control has very different effects on me than it does my wife, right? Things like that. But
I certainly hope it does.
Yeah.
but I'm taking Chantix to quit smoking. Okay, that was tested on a predominantly male lab rat in monkeys. Why do I know that? My brother's actually a scientist at Pfizer, and he helped develop the drug. That's why I know that. But that had little effect on how it affected a man or a woman, right? Like, it affects me just as much as it affected my wife when she took it. There's no differences that I know of in the effect of Chantix.
I mean, well, they have to sample both just because in case there could be something. And if they're sampling, if they're sampling more men than women, then that can skew the results a little bit, but not to as marked of a degree as people could think.
Yeah, and that's interesting. So, all right, that was a little bit off the tangent of what this feminist biology paper said. So, I want to recap what I heard, so my head stops spinning. It's a historical study of how biology skewed the results in favor of men.
Basically.
So once again, I have to ask, how do you take biology and skew the result? How do you skew the results of a scientific study? How do you take data points and skew those data points?
There's a lot of ways, actually.
Well, okay, so yes, I guess there are ways to misinterpret.
Not even misinterpret. Like if you get if you cherry pick your sample and give that as results it's like the vaccine causes autism argument that Jenny McCarthy loves to fucking tout.
Yeah, you pick 30 kids and you make sure you get 20 with autism, and they all say they were vaccinated.
Yeah.
Yeah, out of 30 kids got autism from vaccine. No.
They have refrigerators too. Maybe refrigerators cause autism. We don't know.
Exactly. So once again, back to the point. How is this just not science?
It could come down to the funding. That's about it.
Okay, so they're trying to introduce critical theory over scientific method. Kane, if you're right, I will stab you in the eye with a spork. Because...
and there's the article, by the way.
Critical theory pisses me off.
Going back to Gamergate, Gamergate Feminist has posted something, a massive landmine, apparently, if everyone wants to go to Twitter and have a look.
I do.
There's a tag growing hard right now. I've been turned on to it by colleagues, academic and feminist. Do not engage, this is an anti-GG. The tag was started by an academic who is not anti-GG, just a bystander, When asked if she was looking into it, she said yes. She said no. Highly doubt she is GG because the commonly held narrative in the press. But this is not anti-GG. However, blah blah blah. It looks like it's a false flag of some description.
Can you post the link?
Yeah, it looks. This is all down to the Digra stuff. This is people trying to. I'm really against that last operation. Digging through Digra articles and stuff. It's.
Oh, I'm with you. But as we do know, and I'll leave out how we know, but we do know Digra is talking about us.
Oh yeah, we do know that Digra is talking about us. We know that the main people are, but we've learned in subsequent sort of things that people, regardless of how shitty their academic essays are, they're just being, these people are just people, students.
Well,
They're
yeah.
not.
One problem I have with this latest operation, digging Digra and saying Digra is the enemy, and they've gotten our IP addresses and whatnot. I've had a full-on exchange on Skype and on Twitter with the webmaster of Digra. He's a very nice guy. I don't think he buys into any of this bullshit, right? Like, I don't think they're sniffing our IPs to trace us down. I think he's an innocent bystander, right? Like, there's some people in Digra, even on the board, who are just innocent bystanders for this bullshit. And I think people are painting Digra with a brush, which is ironic because that's what we hated.
There's a lot of ironies in Gamergate that I'm finding. I think whenever we deviate from the kind of core message about what we're all trying to accomplish, that these inconsistencies and ironies do appear, and it's very easy for our enemies to jump on them. Then, just one second.
God,
I'm just
really
refreshing the whole thing.
That person in chat plays with life. It wasn't lying. There is an article called "Science: A Masculine Disorder." I don't even.
Somebody else posted something saying that they're trying to put critical theory over actual research practice.
That was Kane, and I mentioned that critical theory. Yeah. Critical theory is a Marxist thing, right? That came out of school and all that. Critical theory is a fucking Marxist thing. If they're trying to put that over scientific method, I think I would pull a Futurama, and I don't want to live on this planet anymore. And I would pull rocket boots.
Yeah, I'm taking a $50,000 loan and I'm going to Mars.
Exactly. Like, I would have a serious problem with that. And it's not even so much that I don't buy into the patriarchy thing. I don't, right? I don't buy into it. But that wouldn't be why. It would be because the scientific method is proven. It works. It's a thing. It's a great thing, and it's advanced the civilization far beyond anywhere we would have got without it. And if you're trying to displace that with oppression and fucking oppression Olympics and shit, I would have a big problem with that. I think I would not want to live on this planet anymore.
I mean, I'm already at that stage that I don't really want to live on this planet anymore. Just because of all the shit that it has already gone before us, and the shit that we're living in at the moment. I mean, I love Gamergate for the fact that it's brought me closer together with more like-minded sort of gamers, basically. But it also has highlighted that there's still a lot of shit in humanity on both sides of the fence as well.
And I think the big problem with that, though, is the internet, right? People don't fucking play Oppression Olympics in real life, in IRL. They don't play Oppression Olympics IRL.
Yeah, it depends on which movement you're talking about, because there is one that does.
Yeah.
Really? Because I was unaware. Which movement is this?
The fat acceptance movement.
The fat acceptance movement. I don't have a problem with that, though, right? Like, just because somebody's overweight should not immediately discount them.
No. It's not that. They're saying that society is oppressing them because society doesn't tailor seats or buses or anything like that to fit them.
Sure. That's a load of, I mean, the thing is, right? I'm a chunky guy. I'm not one of those type of people that I wash myself with a rag on a stick. But you know, I'm a chunky guy, 38 to 40 waist, and you know, I understand. I really don't get those people that are fat advocates, basically, that are like trying to say, as you say, get bigger bus seats and things like that. The problem is that we should lose weight. You know, we should take.
Some people do have like thyroid, like legitimate thyroid issues and shit, right? But
Oh yeah,
the buses should be made to fit the majority. And if the majority are not 40 waist people, the bus seats should not be 40 waist people, because if you make every chair fit a 42 waist person, you're going to cut down the number of chairs you can have on a bus, which just means more buses, more money, more pollution, all that shit.
have you, just talking of buses, have you ever seen a privilege off on buses? On buses?
I have not.
It's so funny. I mean, Oxford, which is basically near where I live, the main city nearest to me, is very anti-car, so there's buses everywhere, basically. And there are regularly fights between, because one of the areas in the city just is full of what we call chavs. I don't know if you've heard of that, basically, that expression. Chav.
I'm trying to think if we have an equivalent. I can't think of one.
No, it's a very unique kind of thing. It's but it's basically a council estate. So somebody basically generally living off welfare. Well, we have a lot of people that are, you know, sort of unemployed, and the only way that they manage to, and they're quite young as well, and ill-educated, and the only way that they have money is to keep reproducing, you know, spawning babies, basically, to pay the rent and get, you know, free social housing. But then it's quite funny watching the dynamic, because you have elderly people using the bus, you have these pregnant and also buggy carrying, you know, already with children people, and then you've also got disabled people in wheelchairs, these. At one point, I had like this old person with a Zimmer frame, a person in a wheelchair, and a person with a buggy, a double buggy with two babies in it, and they were fighting over this one space, basically, and it was just like a privilege off. It was who's the more entitled to the space, and I was just sat there, and I was just like, I can either laugh or cry right now.
If you ever want good stories of stuff like that, go to the subreddit r fat people stories on Reddit. It is hilarious.
I don't have a problem with fat people, though, right? Like, I said in chat, if you're really that fat, lose weight. I mean, okay, yes, you have a thyroid issue, but you can still lose some weight. You know what I mean? Like, if it bothers you that much, once again, your actions have a consequence. If you eat 4 hamburgers from McDonald's for lunch and 4 for dinner, there is a consequence to that. You're gonna get fat.
No, weight is something out of their control. Don't you know? You can't affect weight, which is their argument, by the way.
And in some cases, I will say they are right? You know what I mean? They are. Sometimes, yeah. My cousin has a thyroid issue, and he's a big guy, but he also goes to the gym to keep it under control, and he gets he takes the medication he needs to take to keep it under control. And he doesn't go. Actually, he does go for pizza 14 times a day, which is why he works out 4 times a day. But he gets it. He's going to be fat, and he's okay with that.
Sorry, just going back to Gamergate. It looks like Gamergate's on either a slow news day or getting. It looks like Operation Vox Populi, which is really irritating, because that's just stolen from fucking BioShock. Apparently that's starting to be highly visible and make us look stupid.
Of course,
it's gonna be bad.
That's why I hate. I mean, I get where Ralph's coming from. Ralph likes those names and he thinks they're fun and cute. And they are fun and cute, but we've already been painted with that brush. And like I said, I'm much more passive aggressive. I'd rather make my quote unquote enemy look stupid rather than fight him head on with fight fire with fire.
It's the Angela Merkel defense, and it's far more effective than anything else.
It is.
Mm.
And
The thing is, we're not going to out-media the media.
no, and we're not going to out academic the academics. You know
But
what I
we
mean?
we can surely make them look like jackasses by their own words.
Exactly. So
Mhm.
in the whole dig into all their articles, there is nothing in those articles to dig into. Some of them are typical SJW bullshit. Some of them are actually pretty good reads. I've read a lot of them. I know you have. I know both of you have. There's some pretty good reads in there, and some of them are SJW feminist, and I don't want to say feminist, but SJW bullshit. But you're not going to take them down from their articles.
There's a couple of tweets. The problem with denying a massive public harassment campaign is that you fucking made it public. Obviously that guy's anti-us, but it's not a harassment campaign. But you have made basically a campaign where you're going to inundate the inboxes of multiple companies. You are going to make their lives hell for the next couple of days.
I won't lie, I do hope it works. I think giving it a stupid name and organizing it in this big operation is not helpful, but I do hope it works. I do hope it works.
I hope it works, because I was quite surprised with Intel, and that was a massive. Somebody actually took notice that someone was a complete arse.
Which is amazing. What struck me most about that was not even SJ bigots. Okay, Kane. From now on, I will start calling them SJ bigots. It's just SJW is so much quicker. I guess I could say SJBs. Sorry, I'm responding to chat. Anyways, what stuck to me the most was how hard everybody fought to overturn that. Like, I feel like Intel must have been a big budget advertiser for them.
Oh yeah.
Fought like hell. You've had like Scottrade pull out and a couple other smaller guys pull out and nobody batted an eye. But Intel pulls out a Gamma Sutra and all of a sudden it's this whole giant wave of we've got to do this. Intel's big.
If Verizon pulls out of Kotaku, that might be a death nail.
It will
right there.
absolutely be one for Kotaku.
Oh, definitely. What else? Oh, the other point I wanted to make about that whole Gamma Sutra shit is all these indie devs are now saying, why are you guys making it about us? You just hurt the devs. This was never about you. We've got 4 people listening. There's probably not an indie dev in here, but if we do, this was never about you. The only reason it came about you is when you made it about you. This was never about the indie devs. If anything, this was about helping the indie devs to be able to tell their story without people fucking with them.
Yeah, it was helping to foster indie devs instead of let them be hindered.
Exactly, but now they've turned it into, why are you attacking devs? Well, we're not. We will attack you when you make it about you, sure. But this goes back to the gamers don't want you to make it about you, right? A gamer doesn't care who you are or what you do. We just want to fucking play a video game. We don't give a rat's ass about you.
Can you make it good? Okay, it's a good game. Therefore, we're going to say, yeah, this is pretty good.
Exactly. And I firmly believe, and I've played a lot of fucking video games in my 31, almost 32 years of life right now. Gamers, like I said, gamers don't care about you. And maybe that's mean to say, but gamers really don't care about you. Will you pick up a controller and play a video game with me? Cool. That's all I care about. I don't care about what color you are, what you have between your legs. I don't care about that shit. I know.
Sorry to derail it.
No, go ahead.
Sorry to derail again. Apparently, Roguestar created. I think what people are kind of annoyed about is that Roguestar's created an alternative hashtag.
What?
There's a
Rockstar's been weird today.
Operation Vox Populi is now a hashtag apparently, as well. And people are saying kind of like, if you, this is the 8chan public service announcement. If you like the things Roguestar's Google document, says, take them, apply them to existing Gamergate documents, and remove his name where applicable. Dump his hashtag into the trash. There are only 2 hashtags that we need: Gamergate and Not Your Shield. So, Mm,
I worry about Roguestar, to be honest.
I think he's stared at the abyss too long.
Oh yeah.
I think he's been justified in everything that's happened, to him. But people have sort of fueled that into this kind of unstoppable force now.
And it's gonna end badly for Gamergate. I feel like it's gonna end really badly. We've essentially put Roguestar as our leader. I say we, and I mean we as in a Gamergate movement. By
I don't.
following this,
I
we put Roguestar as a leader.
I don't think as a leader, but he's been definitely put up as a pedestal.
Yes,
Put up on a pedestal.
and that's what they want. They want people on pedestals to tear down. And unfortunately, Roguestar, the way he acts, makes it easy for them to tear him down.
I mean, we put up King of Pole, we put up Milo. Well, and they've been trying to tear down Milo, and they haven't really tried to tear down Internet Aristocrat or King of Pole as much, but
The thing was with trying to tear down Milo, Milo's not going to let them tear him down. And I
Yeah.
say that because, yes, Milo fucked up, right? He fucked up about literally who. He fucked up about Anita Sarkeesian. But Milo also wore both those badges. He's come out and said, you know what, I fucked up. Get over it. Right?
Mhm.
Like, Milo's open to criticism. And if you criticize him rightfully, he'll go, okay, fine. I was fucking wrong.
That's because he's a public, he is in the public's eye. Roguestar's kind of like ridden a wave where he's not in this for the money like the other popularity contest people are, or he hasn't got anything to gain, but he's been lumped in with them and he's not handling that kind of like PR responsibility, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, and that's what worries me about. And Kane just said in chat, we haven't. I think he's referring to we haven't made him a leader. You're right, we haven't. He is spearheading it, and people are following, and that's just going to give him some. That's going to give the anti-crowd somebody to take down. But what worries me about that is I don't think Roguestar is going to handle it like Milo. Yes, and Milo has his outbursts. He told Liana she only makes money off her tits, and that was wrong. But I foresee Roguestar. I've already seen Roguestar tweet something about how he's going to block people. That is exactly what we were angry against. So who are you helping by blocking somebody who calls you out? You're just putting yourself in an echo chamber. Jen brought up a point that it might be a legal issue. Companies are not supposed to organize boycotts. Do you mean Pixie?
and that depends on the company and where they work out of.
Yeah, so like I saw Blake talking about this and arguing with Irrelevant Megaphone or Irrelevant Gamer, whatever we want to call him, IG as we all call him now,
Mhm.
on a legal issue, and I don't think it's not illegal for Roguestar the person to organize a boycott, but is it a problem for Roguestar Games, the company, which is what he's tweeting from, to organize a boycott against his industry and against against his competitors, right? Could AMD come out and organize a boycott against Intel?
I think they do that. That's called marketing, but that's beside the point. But
Marketing's different, and maybe
well, I mean,
marketing is different.
if it is as the Supreme Court said, that corporations are people, then they have every right, just as a person has, and therefore they can boycott if they so choose.
Well,
The question,
Intel can, or AMD can boycott Intel, but can AMD come out as a company and say, I want all our users to not use any more Intel products?
I mean, they can say that, but they can't legally fire anybody for saying they're against it within the company. It's bad. That's a bad move. That's a bad PR move. They can say that, but it would be to their detriment.
Well, yeah, so, and I guess maybe that's part of the problem with Roguestar Games is I don't think he's really ever produced anything, so he's got nothing to hurt. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But, see, I don't know enough about the legal side to know if it's illegal or not. But either way, it's going to hurt him in the long run.
Yeah, I personally want to err on the side of it's not illegal.
Jenny Daw said that. That's interesting that Daw would say that. GM shivers. And she might be right, right? But Jerry also has a good point. If corporations are people, they can act as a person acts. I think we're getting into a gray area with this, right? I don't know if it's illegal. I would say maybe it's not, but I would agree that it's very, very bad practice for a company to try and organize a boycott, especially against other developers and marketers in their own industry, right? Like, he's just hurting himself.
Are we actually boycotting products here? This is yet another tweet from GG Feminist. Dear Nvidia, I've been your loyal customer for 15 years. Boycotting your products unpleasant. Please don't make me buy Radeon. You know, we're not boycotting the products.
Well, I think it's become a boycott. See, this is where I draw the line, right? Like, I cut my subscription from GitHub. Why did I cut my subscription from GitHub? Well, the reason for dropping the Gamergate repo was shit. It wasn't harassment, right? They can't organize consumer boycotts. Okay, I'll come back to that.
Yeah, okay.
I did cut my subscription from GitHub, and my company, my CTO, has already said he's cutting our enterprise subscription. And not because he's pro Gamergate, he could give a shit about video games, but he's anti-censorship. So I'm cutting it, and the company's cutting it because of censorship for bullshit reasons, right? Like, that's a problem. Would I boycott an NVIDIA card just because they didn't pull funding? Well, no, because NVIDIA, or not funding, advertising. NVIDIA advertises probably on hundreds of thousands of websites, right? So,
oh, dear God. Fuck's sake. No.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, this is just getting out of hand now. It's shill shouting. It literally, somebody, Ivy Clover has just posted a massive public announcement. I'll pass the tweet over. 1 second. This is getting out of hand now.
Ivy Tower?
Ivy Clover, yeah.
Ivy Clover.
Not Ivy Twisted.
No. Put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wrong one. Trying to look these people up sucks.
It's another vocal one along the lines of.
You gave the search results, not the actual.
Oh, did I? Let me just.
All right, but anyway, so.
Plays
with Life says right, but they can't organize consumer boycotts against their competitors.
Okay.
That's what I thought. I didn't think a company could, even though they are, I guess, in some ways in the United States, they're the same thing as a person, an individual thing, right? Like a person. I don't think AMD can organize a boycott against Intel. I don't think they can do that.
I don't think they can either, but because that's essentially what marketing is. They're trying to get them to favor their product over another.
They're trying to get them to favor, but
they can't just outright say, no, all our customers are going to avoid buying your shit.
Yeah. They can say it through marketing, right? Like, we're better than Intel.
Yeah.
That's all well and fine.
Let's see. Ivy.
Don't touch the poop. Stop engaging attention seekers. Which one are you?
No, it should be Gamergate hashtag critically important public announcement.
Yeah, guys and girls need to talk. The enemy has breached our 8chan board and begun to spread a targeted campaign against users with high enough follower count. Remember that email from Silverstring Media asking for PR help? They wanted to know which users were influential on Twitter. It isn't hard to find out. So what has happened? Internet Aristocrat has been doxxed at his workplace on 8chan. Why? Who would do that? Jade has been attacked as a shield queen. Mundane Matt, who is irrelevant at this point as far as I care.
is being brought back into the light, despite not having done much recently. LW's questionable murder claim out of the blue just when we were totally rid of her, even after we resisted spreading the information that kept popping right back into the media. Devi came back in right after the Intel victory and after waiting a while launched a fierce attack on her. Now Roguestar's small anti-Vox operation is coming under a credible scrutiny, whereas no one minded before operations such as Digging Diggy or Operation Frantic Strike. We need to formulate a counter strategy. I mean, in a way, she kind of has. But this whole shilling thing is not new.
It's not,
No,
and
it's day one.
and half of these posts are refutable because Devi came back and launched. Oh, has somebody got a train?
Yeah, there's a train near my house. I'm sorry.
Ah, that's okay. I'll wait until
Yeah.
train is.
It's gone now. There's only like 3 posts that it has crossed and it's gone.
Ah,
So yeah, it's
yeah.
gone.
Oh.
Yep, that's it. I literally, I live literally less than 100 yards away from the train, and I'm out in the country.
Well. No, it was Devi came back and attacked Jen Franks. Well, not attacked, defended herself against Jen Franks, which was glorious to watch yesterday.
Oh yeah.
I really got the popcorn out for that one. But it's just again, Roguestar's small Vox anti-Vox operation. That's not small. He's made it huge. That Monday Matt was being attacked this morning. That wasn't bringing him back into the conversation. Jade, I don't know. She was the original boycott person. I wouldn't really call her the shill queen. And I don't know anything about this docs either about Internet Aristocrat, if that actually happened.
I don't either. I'm going to have to actually research that to see if it did. But this just feels weird, right? Like a Silver String Media PR thing. Yeah, okay, so somebody said that. That email was never verified, for one. And for two, why would they need a PR firm to find out the loudest voices? It's not hard. Just go on the Gamergate tag. You can find out the loudest voices without a problem. And if that's the case, why is nobody going after Adam Baldwin?
They have been.
Have they?
Yeah, people have been hardcore just anti-Baldwin. Period.
Well, that's because he's a right-winger, right? Like, they'd always be hardcore Baldwin. Funny, I've tweeted Baldwin 2 things in the past 2 days about academia, and in both cases he retweeted it. So I think I know where his interest is in all this.
Yeah.
Which is on the academic side. But anyways, what was I going to say? That just seems really, that whole thing screams like, let me put my tinfoil hat on.
Yeah, and, well, as much as I hate to kind of shit on him, Rogue tends to do this. It was like when archive.org was getting cleaned out. He went immediately into fucking panic mode.
Yeah, he did.
And just, attention, everyone, archive.org, it's blah, blah, panic, incitement. And then we found out, no, they can take that down with a, with a court order.
Yeah.
Or even worse, if it was, it was bots, or even better, it could have been just bots cleaning it out.
Well, it probably was just bots cleaning it out. And, some of the Gamergate stuff probably did get caught in the crossfire. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always a giant conspiracy.
I think that's the problem, is that every single... I mean, because when the first revelations came out, it was like, holy shit, we've seen down the rabbit hole. I think we're still reeling from that. I don't want to see conspiracy in every single... Like, for instance, the first time that I spoke to you, Code, it fucking shook me up. And then I just realized, it's on the fucking internet. It's not real. To an extent. I mean, these people, they can't hurt anybody beyond their sort of echo chambers, basically.
Oh, and right? Like, they really can't. And that's fine. the problem is they've infiltrated the media, at least in some. I don't know if they've infiltrated. Maybe that's not the right word. They've gotten the media to buy into their bullshit, right? Their social justice bullshit. They've
They
got
had the they had the money to throw at it to make it big.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's academia. There's a lot of money in academia, from grants and all that. So there is a lot of money there.
2 minutes, guys. I'll be right back.
No problems.
This whole Roguestar, and it says now Roguestar's small anti-Vox operation is coming under incredible scrutiny, whereas no one minded before. It's not small. He's been pushing it for 3 days about his big announcement on Sunday, and I've seen tweet after tweet after tweet every time I refresh Twitter. I've seen something about this announcement, so it's not small, right? Like this screams something they would, like the other side would push, right? Like I'm gonna intentionally skew facts to.
Yeah, but we're starting in some cases to parody the other side.
We are, and it bothers me a lot.
I think we should I think people in Gamergate should actually take a massive step back and address a lot of simple things like what do I stand for, what that isn't just like a buzzword. What do I actually believe? Do I believe half these tweets that I retweet? What is my end goal in this? What am I actually adding to the movement, if anything? People should evaluate.
No, I agree. My end goal would just be to get this social justice shit out of video games, right? Like, I keep retweeting this video, and I feel like not enough people have watched it. The Tacos for Justice video about what.
Oh yeah.
And I think he says it the best, right? Like, we just want to know when we can get back to eating tacos, right? Like, we want video games journalism to be about video games, and that's pretty much it. And I'd be happy when that happens, right? Like, I would be happy if this industry went the way of the movie industry.
In what sort of respect? Just
well, so I heard somebody talking about this earlier today. So movie critics don't rely on advertising money, right? They're paid to be movie critics, and they're paid to be movie reviewers, and they don't so much rely on that advertising, so they don't have to really pander to the advertisers, right? To the big guys. I wish that would happen in games. I wish games would break off, like this social justice shit would break off into their own little Sundance independent film shit, right? Like, I don't like independent films, but people do, and they serve a purpose, and they serve that cultural narrative and all that, and that's cool. But who really watches the Sundance? And do those movie critique methods really apply to like the big name films? They don't. And
no.
And I would be happy if games took that route.
I just want to address whatever the hell is happening in our very limited chat. Tell that to people like Brad Wardle. Yeah, people have lost jobs because of. I don't know about Brad Wardle. I don't know what. Is this going back to the relevance of these people? Yeah, okay. They tried to get people fired, which was fucked up, and we don't know who exactly that is. We don't know anything.
Okay, so what he's talking about with the Brad Wardell, I can speak to that.
Yeah.
It was either last year or the year before, maybe it was a little while longer. One of the employees of Stardock came out and said she was harassed by Brad Wardell, who is the CEO of Stardock. And all these news outlets ran these stories about, it's kind of like the literally who shit, where they ran these stories without getting all the facts, without talking to Brad Wardell or anything, just painting him as this sexist pig. And he's received death threats. I believe he moved because his family was unsafe where they were. And they basically, the media ran his name through the mud, only to find out that she was lying.
Oh no, I can
career and family. That was not true.
I remember the case now, and I do remember it, but but again, people think that this is common practice for people on the low run. We do understand that there's people out there that are on the higher sort of ground that have a lot to potentially lose, But there are also people like ourselves that are getting worked up, potentially. We don't face doxing. We don't face, it's not affecting the little guys. I know it's bad, but but I don't know. I feel that we're not at threat. We know other people are at kind of threat, but
That's where I
we can't.
disagree. I think at least us in this video, the 4 of us here and the 3 on the chat, I think we are a threat. And why do I say that? Well, when Sargon's video dropped and when our paste bin dropped, we were all inundated. At least I know our paste bin. We were inundated from academics and these writers, like just hounding and hounding and hounding us on Twitter.
Mm.
I feel like we are a threat for some reason. I don't know what that reason is yet.
I feel the threats though are relative to what gets put out, because we've put out so much, attention gets deflected basically.
Someone had to try to declare him dead.
Yeah, that was a thing.
What happened?
Go ahead.
You might want to explain this one.
What?
Someone tried to get you declared dead.
Oh, I don't think he was talking about that, but I will explain it. And I know Cerberus knows, but I don't know if people are watching in the chat. And I will say I do not yet know if this is Gamergate related or not. But somebody attempted to drain and close my bank account. And this was a woman who called a local bank branch, not local because I'm not in Nevada, but called a small branch. They didn't call the main headquarters in Nevada. Claiming to be my wife, saying I had passed away. Thank God for my bank, though this is kind of stupid. They put the funds on hold, and they called me. I don't know why they called me. I was supposedly dead, but they called. They tried calling my cell phone. They texted me, and they called my house phone to verify my status of if I was alive or dead. Plus, they put my debit card on hold. Oh, you are referring about me. Okay. And then they put my debit card on hold. And then I was trying to buy my daughter some new fish, and it got declined, and it was this whole big thing. I have not listened to the phone call that they have recorded. I believe it went to the probably either the Nevada police, state police, or higher up. I don't know. I have a friend, well, really my cousin's friend, but I do know him. I have a friend who's a state marshal who's working on it. But yes, they did try to declare me dead. I don't know if it was Gamergate related or not.
Well, that's the thing. We will never know whether it is Gamergate related until, well, I don't think you'll ever know that. I know that there are plausible threats out there, to people's information, and other things, but, I don't know. It's just, there are some real world consequences, but the amount of them aren't that dire. I think that's the most extreme sort of case that I've heard, apart from, the other side and their bomb threats and things like that.
But ultimately it did not harm me. It was a little embarrassing, right? But the guy behind the counter understood because it happened to him, right? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Yeah.
I got my and what sucks is, so they made the call from a pay per minute phone that they probably purchased at a gas station, which means it's probably untraceable.
Yeah, that's suspicious as shit. That somebody bought a burner phone just to do that.
Exactly. And what's annoying is they hung up on the teller on the other line before they could close the account. When they told them they were going to verify I was dead, they hung up before they could give the information about where to transfer the money to. So I don't even know where the money was going, but that would have been like a direct link to somebody, right? But that's just stupid in and of itself. I'm going to call and cancel your account and have you transfer this money to a bank account. What? Talk about a traceable link. So it's like somebody thought they knew what they were doing, but didn't really exactly think it through. You know what I mean? Because if they had gotten the bank account to transfer the money to, you'd probably pretty easily be able to figure out who owns that bank account.
Yeah, because there's a social security number usually tied to those. Ever since the Patriot Act, there's been social security numbers tied to bank accounts.
Exactly.
And they did not have
That's
my.
the
They
that's
did
the
not have my social security number.
yeah, that is the one good thing the Patriot Act did. It was make banking more secure on the personal end.
Yes.
Wow.
I do know, thank God, they didn't have my social security number, but they were able to verify everything else on my account. My password, which I've changed all of them now. My secret question answer, which was very easy if you knew my license. They had my driver license number. They had my address. So they probably do have my social security number if they had my driver license, but they didn't give it over the phone. So this is what I know about what happened to me. All I know is a day later I had no money back.
That's just. I mean, it's like when 8chan got doxxed the other day. You know, it was pretty obvious exactly what went down to have it doxxed.
What happened? I'm unaware.
8chan got doxxed the other, not doxxed, but DDoS the other day. My mistake.
Yep.
And someone apparently the user of 8chan or the head of 8chan was talking to Internet Aristocrat King of Pole on their stream on Friday, and said that apparently what had happened was somebody had paid someone in bitcoins to dox the site, like a botnet guy to dox their site.
To DDoS it, you mean?
To DDoS it, yeah. Excuse me, I keep getting those two confused. I don't know why. I think it's just because they both start with D, but
Interesting.
yeah. And the head of 8chan was like, yeah, it's pretty obvious what went on here, and this should be at least somewhat easy to trace.
Yeah. I don't think I'll ever find out who tried to close my bank account. I mean, but that's all well and fine, right? They went into a gas station and spent $30 on a pay-per-minute phone and
For
got
nothing.
nothing out of it. So what
They're
did
out.
they do? They slowed me down for 24 hours.
Yeah, they're out 30. Yeah, they slowed you down for 24 hours, and they're out $30. I think I can call that. I could tick that in the win column.
A win, right? And little do they know I work from home, so it's not even like I needed to put gas in my car or anything. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
That's funny. Encyclopedia Dramatica is still down.
yeah, what is up with that?
And it doesn't even appear to be on Google search anymore.
Why is it down? Has anybody heard?
Well,
Check their Twitter.
their Reddit said that everything's paid up. No funds issues. And then it's just gone silent.
It's a DNS issue from what their Twitter feed's saying. It's one of their most recent tweets is well, no, this is from the 4th. It's waiting for DNS to propagate, and we will be back as encyclopediadramatica.se. DNS servers won't save our registrar's website, waiting for them to reply ticket, working as fast as we can. But they've also thrown up their paste bin of how to visit it directly, which is by IP.
Yeah, where's that? Where's the paste bin?
Here's their paste bin. I'll throw it in our chat.
Direct IP access not allowed, so I would need to modify my host file. That sucks.
Yeah.
Oh well.
I'll just wait.
Dramatica. Yeah, I'll wait too, even though I do love the site.
Yeah, they are the most factual reporting on a lot of what goes down.
Yeah, as long as you can dig through the N word and the F word, and you know what I mean, like, and I'm fine with that. I don't. It doesn't trigger me. I don't get. I'm gonna say it, and I'm not. But I'll say it anyway.
Yeah.
I don't get triggered when I read nigger or faggot or you know what I mean. Like, I'm cool with all that. You know what I mean? Like, I get over it. But I also firmly believe sometimes, or most of the time, words are just words. Yes, words can be powerful. Words are just words.
I just genuinely believe that at all times, basically, that words are words. And
Yeah.
I can understand that people attach meaning to them, but life is too fucking short.
Yeah.
And that's where I come from, right? Like, if I'm lucky, I'll have 85 years on this rock. I don't want to worry about if my feelings are hurt because somebody called me a douchebag. You know what I mean? Like, cool, you don't like me. I don't fucking like you either. I never have to see you again.
I think that's why Gamergate's Oh, sorry.
No, no,
Go
go
on,
ahead.
Jerry.
I was about to say,
No,
has
okay.
has cis white male shitlord become white people's N word? And I don't think it has.
No. It
It's
was,
every time it's failed.
What's funny?
well,
Go ahead, Cerberus.
no, I was just going to say, Gamergate's taught me a lot of things, mainly about restraint, basically, just not launching into people who are just, provoking and antagonizing. I've learned a lot of restraint through, because most of the times I'd be doing what Roguestar's doing, properly going, you motherfuckers, and coming at them, all guns blazing. But I just realised there's a lot better ways to get things done than that.
Oh
That's
yeah,
all I was
most
gonna say.
definitely. Though sometimes it can be fun.
It can be fun to poke the bear, but Gandhi had the right tactic when he said, with his whole spiel about how to win.
Oh yeah.
Oh, definitely. What I was gonna say something else too. I don't remember. Oh, on the shitlord thing. I've ever since this started, I've been referring to myself as a shitlord. And I finally explained to my wife what that means. So now she has my daughter calling me a poop lord, and I think it's the greatest thing ever.
Well, and the funny thing is that came out of the Tumblr community trying to find a non-gendered insult, and yet they attach the word lord to it, which is inherently gendered.
Yes, which is funny.
Yeah.
But I
And
love
now,
shitlord, right?
and
And this
now there,
is what I'm cool with
now there's piss baby, and I mean I have been very lucky that in my 26 years on this earth, I have never been called any of those things.
Yeah, nor have I. And what bugs me about this is if anybody who actually knows me will tell you I'm probably pretty far away from that sexist line, right? Like, but I'm not a sexist, and that's one thing that really pisses me off because I'm not. I am a male, and I will tell you I like your tits if you let me, without you being offended, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I will tell you, like I tell my wife all the time how much of a nice ass she's got. That doesn't make me a sexist. That makes me a guy.
Yeah.
Like I think Base Mom said it best in her video. Most gamers are men, and video games show women in plantly clad clothes. Is that because they're sexist? No, it's because they're catering to men, and that's what men like.
Oh God! Now you want to see attempting to pander to both sexes? Look at the MMO Terra. Oh my God!
I love Terra though.
Yeah.
Giant tits. They have very little clothes on.
And then you flip to the males. Look at the male high elf models.
Oh yeah, they're no clothes. Right, like
Yeah.
they pander to both sexes. But what also bugs me is
Well,
why.
Terra also panders to lolicons too. So.
Oh, yes, I mean Terra panders to everybody, and I'm cool. With it.
Mm-hmm.
But why does nobody ever complain about like, who's the guy from God of War? What the hell's his name?
Kratos.
Kratos. Why does nobody complain about him? Right? Why do people not complain about the way men are portrayed in video games?
They don't complain about him because there's always a sex mini game in the game.
They can complain about that instead.
Yeah, absolutely they do. You kidding me?
Do you remember Hot Coffee? That was the first time.
Oh God,
Uh,
that was the stupidest controversy ever.
I know. It's like, oh, the developers had a laugh and left the code in.
Yeah, and that was something that you could not access without actually getting into, digging around in the memory files and stuff like that.
That was something interesting that Sargon was saying. It was like, how come Rockstar hasn't jumped at the chance to actually fucking have a go at the shitlords that have fucked them up over the years, who've constantly tried to blame them for everything
Why?
under the sun.
Well, I mean, Anita Sarkeesian did too.
Well, everybody's pissed on fucking Rockstar, but it makes financial sense as a giant corporation to not get involved.
I mean, think about this. GTA 5 within 2 days made $1 billion.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously Anita Sarkeesian's full of shit because nobody fucking listened to her and everybody went out and flocked to buy it.
So how would it hurt them even if they did even if they joined it with one side that has specifically continued to purchase their game,
That's true.
and
They're already painted
it's
as misogynies.
yeah.
I don't know.
So
That's a good question.
I think it's the direction they kind of took GTA in because, 1, 2, 3, and Vice City and San Andreas have all been very parodic versus 4 and 5, which were very serious and satirical. I think they just want to move it to a more serious direction.
But still, they're still painted as a sexist, violent company. Why haven't they just come out and said, you know what, fuck you guys. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, you're cool, fuck you. Why haven't they done that?
yeah, because it won't matter either way because their sales will still validate their decisions. They've always seemed to like not bow down, but they've always just seemed to like hide in the shadows basically and just let it play out for them. It's really odd, and I don't know why they wouldn't just flat out just come out and say, look, you fuckers aren't ever going to buy our games anyway, so here's two fingers and let's carry on supporting the people that do.
I don't know why they haven't. Maybe because people are going to continue to buy their games one way or the other. So why even throw your dog into this fight?
I mean, I know I'm buying GTA 5 again in January when it comes to PC.
Exactly. So people are going to buy it anyway. So if you don't need a dog in the fight, why?
And they only focus on Grand Theft Auto. They didn't. Anita Sarkeesian tried to bring it to Red Dead Redemption, and that kind of failed because, hey, yeah, one character happens to be a hooker, but if you look at it contextually, oh, it's a totally different thing.
And that's the other thing that bothers the fuck out of me is like the Red Dead Redemption thing. Okay, she was a hooker and she was a wench or whatever else word you want to say about these women. You know what? That's what women were in the Wild West. Most women were hookers. Most women were wenches. It's historically accurate. Do you want them to rewrite history?
Yeah, they do. They want society as it was previously to be at a level where they see it is now for some god awful reason. We can't have accurate depictions of the fact that it's the same. It's the same whenever a murder happens. The press are always going to call the murderer a monster. They're always going to try and disavow the fact that they're human and that can happen basically with humans. It's like this constant need to perpetuate to somebody that we are above this type of thing, but historically we're not. And in the secular nature of history, we have repeated dozens of things. So I don't know why they just don't try and say, yeah, my bad. We try and do better now.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yes, the shit happens argument, which I'm all for.
I'm all for that, but you brought up a good point, which is getting off the Gamergate topic real quick. But I'll make it quick. There was a story local, and maybe it wasn't local, and I'm just remembering it because I read it in the local paper, about this guy who was getting out of his car, or was sitting by his house. He had a flat tire, or his car broke down, or something like that. I don't remember exactly what. And a drunk driver came up behind him, or in front of him. I don't even remember exactly where he got hit. But anyways, hit his car, and he had his kids in the car, and he ended up killing the guy's kids. So the guy later went to this drunk driver's house and shot him to death. And the media portrayed the murderer as a vicious human being. And I'm looking at that going, I think I might have the same reaction if some drunk driver kills my kids and then drives away. I think my first reaction would be, I'm going to get my gun and shoot him. Am I wrong?
I mean,
no. I'm wrong. Murder's wrong. But
you're not wrong. You're human.
I'm human.
Yeah, you're fallible. So you'll make a fallible mistake in the heat of, but you're still human. You're not a monster.
No, I'm human. And that's one thing I've said a lot when anybody asks me, well, why are you siding with Milo, or why do you agree with Milo, or why are you cool with Milo and this whole thing? And my argument's always been sometimes bad people do good things and sometimes good people do bad things. And you need to evaluate every situation on the merits of that situation and nothing else.
It's the enemy. It's the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
I don't even look at it like that. I look at it as Milo's made mistakes, but that doesn't make him a bad person. And Milo, of all people, has owned his mistakes numerous times. He stood up and said, yes, guys, I fucked up. Get over it. I'm over it.
And it's funny how that could have just solved Gamergate right there.
I know, right?
Kotaku, Polygon, all the sites could have just said, we fucked up. We're sorry. We don't want to lose you guys as readers because that hurts us.
But they've been
the Gamergate, right? Nathan Grayson could have stood up and said, "You know what? I was wrong," and everything would have fucking died right there.
But they've been so far removed from reality that it's not what they have something to lose. They have a lifestyle which is a lifestyle which isn't really creating anything. These people don't create anything.
That's even Patreon.
The only thing they create is a bandwagon, and that's it.
Mm.
Go ahead.
That Patrick Keplik or whatever his name is, he's a perfect example. He had no, in that interview that he did where he pissed off that developer, I can't remember what it was, but it was just like, you have nothing to add to the conversation, so why don't you shut up?
What was who was that now? I don't even remember.
A quick YouTube thing.
Right? That's not that was out there.
Well, because I remember that Nathan Grayson tried to do the same thing to League of Legends.
What?
He asked very leading questions and stuff like that, and basically saying, "Isn't it weird that all your female characters and stuff like that are very sexualized?" And Total Biscuit did a video about this. Isn't it weird that kind of all these female characters in your game are very sexualized? They look, they wear very skimpy outfits. They do stuff like that. And the guy they were talking to basically just dismissed the question.
You know what? There's one thing I've noticed about Riot. I know I saw some people saying Riot threw their dog into this fight on the anti-Gamergate side, but I don't know if I don't remember seeing that happen, but I've heard it through the grapevine. But anyways, Riot's always been very good at just staying out of everything and going, you know what? We're just going to do our thing and fuck everybody else. We are just doing Riot. You know what? League of Legends has millions and millions and millions of players every single day. And we're just going to do our thing.
Yeah. Well, I think what would genuinely signify the death knell for a lot of these gaming sites is for a AAA dev to basically throw those guys under the bus and side with Gamergate, or at least give some impression that they do.
Well,
this
Kurt.
This was the Patrick Klepek. He interviewed Nolan North, and Nolan North basically just was treating Nolan North like a twat, and so Nolan North just turned around and basically just was completely dismissive towards him. It was glorious. But that Patrick Klepek is another one that's made a living off of being a victim. A survivor's guide to discourse in the internet age. A TED talk, basically. on how not to be a dick and then get called out for it. That's what it should be basically called.
Yeah, exactly. So Plays with Life brought up, and this is a good point that we should probably talk about. One thing I don't know is how to prevent the movement fracturing into competing groups. Could be the end of the movement. He's got a very good point, and it's starting to happen. You're starting to have the shock jock group, which unfortunately is the biggest group out there, and they just latch on to anything and everything that is rubbernecking, right? That allows them to rubberneck and validate their view.
I mean, it was like when I think I started seeing the decline of that when I saw King of Pole bring on somebody who is anti-Gamergate.
And what happened?
I think it was King of Pole, but it was just discussion. It was trying to have a debate, and it was basically them just beating blowing the fuck out of an SJW who didn't know his position.
It was this one guy. It had Internet Aristocrat and King of Pole kind of mediating, and it was two Gamergaters versus one SJW with King of Pole supposedly hosting it. So 3 guys against 1, and it wasn't really. And then they have the nerve to kind of berate Sargon for taking a one-on-one with Jenny. And it was 3 guys against 1 guy who was not prepared for it either.
Yeah.
And it was just the other way round, basically. And it's the hypocrisy. It's we really think our shit doesn't stink. And
We do. One thing I've always been able to do, and I wish more game gators, or whatever you want to call them, would do it, is I actually try to engage people who want to actually have a serious discussion. And it's like a lot of Gamergate people don't. They don't engage. They just call them a shill and move on. And it's like, well, no, if somebody's really moderate or somebody really does want to have a discussion, engage them. Have that discussion. Yeah. I don't know if you guys listened a few weeks ago to Kotaku in Action. They had a guy, Mike, on there, who I engaged over. He was initially anti-Gamergate to the nth degree, but he was willing to have a discussion. And now he's far more, I don't want to say pro, but he's middle ground. And he's middle ground because we were able to have an open dialogue. We took it to Facebook, and we've discussed. And I'd SJ bigot.
I'd prefer to have more people in the middle ground.
Absolutely.
Oh, I would too.
Rather than just polarizing them on one side or the other. Just people that are willing to see, that neither side at the moment is a fucking archangel, basically. And that both sides have got... I wouldn't say, but this isn't completely siding with the SJWs, but some of them do have some points.
Well, some of them do, right? Social justice, first off, is a terrible name. But what they're striving for isn't bad. What's bad is the way they're trying to go about it, right? Like, and my metaphor is always, gamers don't like nerfs, right? You don't nerf somebody to make people equal. You buff other people to make them equal. And the way they seem to be going about it is they want to nerf men and white people and able-bodied people, right? Nerf all them so everybody's equal on a lower ground. Well, no, that's not the solution. The solution is to buff the people who are underrepresented, right? Or who are weaker or underpowered or whatever.
Well, I mean, if you really want to take this back, there's guys like, in the United States at least, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X are some of the biggest names in social justice, obviously, but they didn't strive necessarily for being favored over another. All they strived for was equality.
Yes.
And that is the key problem with the social justice SJB movement. It's that they don't want to strive for equality. They don't want to strive for equality of opportunity. They want to strive for equality of outcome.
And that I absolutely despise. And that is absolutely why they dislike Christina Summers, right? That's why they absolutely despise Based Mom, is because Based Mom will say, hey guys, stop and look at the data. I'm giving you the data. It's not that bad, right? And Based Mom is all about equality for everybody, which is why she'll come out and speak about men who are underrepresented, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the second wave feminists will side with some male rights activists. Maybe not the extreme male rights activists, but some of them, the ones that are striving for everything to be equal.
Exactly, which is why they despise them, because like you said, they don't want equality. They want
I'm going to hesitate to use this word, but I'll use it. They want communism, right? They want everything. They want equal, like you said, equality of outcome, not equality of opportunity. Which says to me they don't feel like they can actually deliver. If they were given equality of opportunity, which they mostly have, in some cases they don't, right? Nothing's ever fucking perfect. They don't believe they can actually deliver to get equality with somebody else on the outcome. So they need a systemic approach to give them the same outcome.
Right. I mean, it's like oh shit, who was it? Fuck, I can't even remember now. I mean, equality of opportunity is always good, and I think yes, there are some people that need a little bit of help to have that equality of opportunity. That's not bad. But if you're going to ride certain things to get an equal outcome, then that is bad. You're not putting the work in that everybody else is. You're not towing your weight.
Though my brother actually makes a good argument in some cases for this. And so his argument was, take somebody like me, right? I don't have a college degree, I don't have a high school diploma, but I also make well into the six figures because I've had the opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's good. But he talks about union workers, right? He uses my cousin all the time as an example, who is a commercial glazer. If you know what a glazer is, it's basically somebody who installs windows, and he does union work. So, and when he does union work, he gets $65 an hour. But somebody else who is maybe more skilled is only getting $30 an hour because they're not union. Shouldn't he be making the most money because he's more skilled?
Well, if anything, they should be making the exact same amount of money.
Exactly. Which is almost equal outcome, right? But my answer is always, well, if he's not in the union, he should get in the union. Well, what if he doesn't want to unionize? Well, now we're playing the what if game. You know what I mean? And I don't want to play that game. But he does, in a way, have a point, right? Like, if somebody is more skilled, but it ultimately always comes back to, if he's more skilled and he doesn't have the opportunity, the answer is not to make his outcome the same. The answer is to fix his opportunity.
Right.
And I'm 100% about that. I am all about equality and opportunity. I am not all about equality of outcome.
God, this is weird. You know, Devi Ever, the developer that came out in favor of Gamergate, was originally against Gamergate, came out in favor, has received some rather shitty sort of messages during one of her live streams or something that are quite transphobic, apparently. So she's now actively against us, apparently.
Oh boy.
Interesting.
I tell you what, it's this kind of like back and forth that's really just does get infuriating.
But part of the problem with that is she's on a live stream and somebody's typing in chat saying, "Oh, who the fuck are you?" Whatever transphobic thing they said. There's no way you could attribute that to Gamergate. You have no data. Anybody could post something. I could post something on Gamergate right now on the tweet saying, "Fuck all women." That doesn't mean I'm for Gamergate, right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just because I use the tag doesn't mean I'm for Gamergate. You can't attribute that to Gamergate, right? Like, you don't know what the person behind the keyboard actually feels.
It's one person's actions. It's not the actions of the whole group.
Which is the biggest issue I have, is they fail to individualize, right? Like, they say you're painting all women this way, but they have absolutely no problem painting all Gamergaters one way.
Absolutely.
Somebody. Right? Like, and that hurts me. I have a huge problem with generalizations. And I will generalize, right? Like, I do it, but I do it more out of irony or satire or whatever you want to say, right? Like, I'll say, I'll do it, but not because I actually believe it. I'll do it because I'm hoping for a laugh or I find it funny myself. You know what I mean?
And you acknowledge when you're generalizing.
Oh, obviously. If I'm going to generalize, I'll tell you, hey, this is a generalization. But, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have a huge problem with that. I have a huge problem with generalization in general. Because people are people, and everybody's an individual. And it's even more absurd when they classify everybody who posts to a hashtag on Twitter one way. Because of anything, I think GNAA should have proved to you anybody can use a hashtag to say anything.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, and
God.
that was funny.
That was amazing.
But after seeing today and after seeing, I give the movement a couple more weeks. I think it will eventually fall to infighting at this rate.
Which means it's going to be dead, which means things are going to go back to the status quo, which is exactly what we don't want.
It will, but I tell you what will happen will be, I think this is the longest I've ever known a drama go on for, like this. The closest thing that I can remember was Chanology, and even that was just mostly voyeuristic, basically, what's going to happen.
Well, I mean, and technically Chanology is still going on.
It's just that we don't see it, but that's maybe what will happen. It will lose this public. I mean, Chanology again became a victim of its own success in its sort of public handling of affairs. Oh God, I really hate those anonymous videos that came out with the auto voice. Just remembering that. But either way, it's about 5:30 in the morning here, and I've got work, so I'm going to try and get some sleep in a bit.
We're pushing on 3 hours. We should probably wrap it up.
Yeah.
But I just want to go back, before I go. It's just like that conversation we were having about that sort of almost virtual asking for it. If you remember that conversation that we had earlier, if we actually, I'd like to think about that more because it was quite sort of poignant. I mean, that sort of argument, and I'd like to hear, Jeremy, what you have to say on it as well when you get time to process it.
Yeah.
Because it was quite interesting, was that?
I mean, there is no... I wanted to say there is no such thing as a woman is directly asking for sex. I'm going to say that unless she actually says, would you like to have sex with me? But she can kind of... It's weird to say anything really for or against the virtual asking for it kind of thing because it is such a muddy issue.
It is, but it's not black and white. But it's still that response of should women have a safe area to always do what they perceive to be as their right to do without fear of harassment in any shape, way, or form. But again, is that then not dealing with consequences, or should they not be then targeted in the first place? It's kind of weird. It's a weird sort of thing. But I do think that there is still a problem when people do introduce their sexuality their gender, should I say, into their characters. But I think gamers have got to do better in their sort of reaction when that actually does occur.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game can have a really good pro-women, pro-classic feminism character. But at the same time, I mean, they can even have a pro-social justice warrior character as long as the game that is backing them up is good. As long as the story is good, as long as everything else is good, we're not going to pan it and pass on. We're going to say, no, this is actually a really good game. Won't you look at it?
I agree. It's actually maybe something we should all spin on and do this again whenever works for you two. Because I would love to continue down this path because I know where I stand, but I do understand it's murky water as well. And I do understand the whole, just because they're a woman, should they be harassed? But I think in order to ask that question, you have to define harassment. Because I don't think if somebody's
Yeah.
sending you a tweet saying, show me your tits, I don't think that's harassment, right? Like,
No, that's the internet.
though, I mean, exactly. Though the definition is any unwanted attention. Okay, well,
Yeah, I think the sorry, just before we get, I think the problem with harassment was that definition that Liana gave, and I think that has completely muddied the water.
I agree. Because, I mean, harassment isn't, I want to see your tits, right? Harassment is maybe somebody tweeting you 1,000 times an hour saying, show me your tits, you fucking cunt, show me your tits, right? Like, okay, at some level, maybe that gets harassment. But I even have a hard time saying a tweet is harassment because you are more than welcome to ignore it.
You're more than welcome to ignore them, and you're more than welcome to block them.
Exactly. So,
I mean, you have the ability to stop it right there.
exactly.
But I mean, it's this funny definition of kind of freedom in America, and that is the libertarian kind of view, which I think is actually a pretty poignant way of saying it. It's that my personal freedom ends when your personal freedom is violated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was trying to remember that quote actually the other day, because that's kind of how it's summed up these days, isn't it? It's just like is it, is what I'm saying, actually offensive, or has it actually just made you offended?
Yeah, I mean, I can offend you all day, but does it really? If it genuinely hurts you, I will apologize. Let me know. I will apologize if it genuinely hurts you on some emotional, psychological, whatever level. But at the same time,
Yeah.
if I say one thing that just irks you, that's not a trigger. That doesn't really hurt you. That's just something that you felt uncomfortable with.
Exactly. But I don't understand that quote you gave. So my personal freedom ends when you're...
When someone else's personal freedom, well, my personal freedom ends when I violate your personal freedom. And that's kind of the libertarian point of view.
I don't know if I fully get it.
I mean, it's like, I come up and, so, we have the Second Amendment. I come up to you and shoot you. The act of me causing harm upon you is where my freedom has ended.
Yes, that I agree with. But does my personal freedom end when I quote-unquote trigger you?
Exactly. That's the point.
Yes.
That's where it's trying to define where that line is the problem.
Yeah, well, that line's not where you're triggered, because I don't really fucking care if I hurt your feelings, right? Like, I care, but
if you have a genuine anxiety issue like PTSD or social anxiety disorder or something that's actually a fucking issue with your brain, then fine. I'd just say, hey, yep, I'm gonna back off. Hey, I'm okay with not screwing around with that, because I've known guys. I'm ex-military. I know men with PTSD. I've had a friend who worked in a forward operating base in Baghdad. I know PTSD.
Oh, so do I. I have a friend who drove a minesweeper in Iraq, right? But now we're playing like that whole Olympics game. But what's funny is I actually do have social anxiety,
Yeah.
and I still have no problem with fucking triggers. I can get over it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. It just depends on, if I really say something to strike a nerve and trigger it, to actually engage your physical, disorder or chemical imbalance in your brain.
I would still deal with it.
Yeah.
That's just me personally, right? Like, and I know what my issues are.
No, I can sympathise. I have same sort of similar issues, and it's just, this is life.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
This shit happens, and I don't understand why people go, oh well, this is life, but don't you think it should change? Well, it hasn't changed in fucking hundreds of thousands of years. Just because one special snowflake is gonna, everybody wants to live in this rosy world, and it's not going to ever happen.
It's not rosy. And
Yeah.
you know what? I am happy it's not rosy. I love my fucking life, and I'm good with that. And if everybody fucking treated me like a special snowflake, my life would be really fucking boring.
Yeah.
Really fucking boring. Did you ever see, and I'm sure Family Guy stole this from another thing, because Family Guy's very good at that, but that episode of Family Guy where the guy died and he was flying, and then he was in a casino playing slot machines, and he won, and then every time he pulled the slot, he won. Like, that would be a really fucking boring world if you won every single time.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, and to drag this back towards gamers, it's like playing a video game with, invincibility and, infinite ammo or infinite whatever cheats.
Fun for a while.
It's fun for a while. If you really just playing it for the story, then go ahead and do that. But but after that, it gets kind of boring.
Yep. Which is, I guess, to close this all up, before we figure out the next time we want to do this, which is why I'm fighting this, right? Because I fucking love what I do. I love my life. I'm happy that I can fail. Every time I fail, I become a better person. I'm happy that people can tell me I'm a shitlord, right? Like, I love it. I'm probably one of the easiest people to mock. I'm probably one of the most open to being mocked. Like, all that shit is what makes life wonderful. And maybe I say that because I'm comfortable in my own skin, right? But I wouldn't want any of this fucking shit to change. Well, I do, right? We're so happy and all that. I would want it to change in that regard. But I'm pretty cool with the way shit is.
And I think that's probably a crux of the issue. One of the issues right there is just like people aren't comfortable in their own skin, and they want other people to try and make them comfortable in their own skin.
Well, you know what? That's not my fucking job. I've struggled with. I spent a year in rehab from fucking coke and shit. You know what I mean? Like, I've struggled with all that, but you know what? That's probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because it really forced me to look at myself, and it really forced me to become comfortable in my own skin. And I feel bad if that's the issue, right? I honestly feel bad for them if they're just not comfortable in their own skin, because that's like the most liberating thing you could ever do, is get comfortable in your own skin and just be happy with who you are.
I think that's what a lot of this boils down to. I'm not exactly 100% happy with myself, but I don't blame anybody else for it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I'm not perfect with who I am, but I am also well aware of what my faults and weaknesses are, and I will tell anybody who asks what my faults and weaknesses are. And in some cases, I'll say, yes, I should work on that. In other cases, I'll go, you know what? No. Like, I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and I'm very outspoken. And people have told me numerous times I need to change that. Okay, maybe it would make my life easier or your life easier if I did, but you know what? I like that part about me. I like that fault in me. So, no, I'm not going to change it. And if that's, like I said, if that's honestly the reason for all this, I really feel bad for them. That's unfortunate.
I think it is unfortunately the case with a lot of them. I think that's why they have to have labels to make sure that everyone's all together, and they're afraid that if they don't have these LGBT blah 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 groups, that they'll I know that's going to sound really ridiculous, but who the hell was there? What group was there for me or whatever? There was the psychiatrist or nothing. That's kind of it's those kind of things. I don't see why everybody needs a fucking group, a support group or something. It's like, deal with your own shit, man.
Exactly, but I mean, I get the need that I understand the desire for a friend and people to talk to. I get it. You don't have to label yourself X and Y, and you don't have to create this ladder of oppression so you can somehow be vindicated in your soft skin. You know what I mean? Like,
I think that's more eloquently what I was trying to say. I'm fucking knackered, so.
Yeah, I mean, but ultimately it's your own issue. Solve your own issue. Fucking fix yourself. That's not my job. Is not to fix you, and my job's not to tiptoe around you because you can't fix yourself. That's not on me. That's not on you. That's not on anybody else. That's on fucking you. right? As I said in chat, they're very terrible at introspection.
Yeah. It's not your job to make me comfortable in my skin. It is my job and my job only.
Exactly. And that's what I said. If it comes down to that, I feel bad for them. I really do. Because being comfortable with who you are is great. It allows you to say things like cunt and laugh about it. It allows you to be George fucking Carlin, or even though he killed himself, Robin Williams. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It allows you to be these wonderfully great, hilarious, kind-hearted, caring, giving people, right? Like, it allows you to be the person you want everybody else to be. And that's my self-introspection for the night. When do we want to do this again? Because it is getting late.
When are you free?
Let me look. Let me look at my class schedule. Hold on. I am always free at 9:30. It's only ever going to be at 9:30. I can never do it earlier because I do have 2 young kids.
Well, I mean, if it's 9:30, I'm pretty much free then.
And my
Pretty
kids
much.
typically don't go to bed. My daughter, at least during the week, doesn't go to bed until about 9 because she's in daycare from 11 to 2, and then she naps from fucking 3 to 6. So getting her to bed any earlier is impossible. I'm
Right.
free Monday and Wednesdays.
I could probably do this on Wednesday at 9:30 again.
You want to do Wednesday 9:30? Does that work for you?
I can try. I probably won't be on as late as this because I'm only in on an early on Monday, so it's not going to really affect me tomorrow. But yeah, I can do a couple of hours.
Sweet.
That works for me.
And then we can talk about this whole she was asking for because she was wearing a fucking G-string in public.
Well, she was asking for it because she revealed she was a gamer and wearing a G-string in WoW. I think that's what we got up to, the point of conversation.
But we all 6 of us here know we're not saying she was actually asking for it.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah.
We know what we meant.
Mhm.
Cool. Well, let's Wednesday 9:30. We can continue on this path and more bullshitting.
Yeah.
That works
Sounds
for me.
good.
Sweet.
Take it easy, guys.
You too.
Good night.
All right.
All right. See ya.
And see you guys later.
Bye.
See ya.